I have a mobile phone in my Dantian. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 426, The Most Unlucky King. Boom. Sudong and the others had just finished listening to the black-skirted girl reading the decree, and then a yellow wind suddenly blew from the sky. The yellow wind gathered vast power and blew them up directly. More than 400 powerful kings were unable to resist, and even the most ferocious Liu Tong could not struggle, and was directly swept away by the yellow wind. Just a moment. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. It was like lightning. Sudong felt that the yellow wind passed through hundreds of great worlds in the blink of an eye, and then an extremely tall and vast mountain appeared in front of him. It was called a mountain, but this was the full view seen from an extremely far distance. In fact, this mountain was larger than the 9 realms. There were green mountains, waterfalls, mountains, and seas, and even powerful demons running around in it. The yellow wind did not stop at all, and blew Sudong and many other kings in collectively. Is this the mountain and sea peak? Sudong fell into the world and the mountain. The more than 400 kings who fell into the mountain and sea peak were like a handful of sand thrown into the sea, and disappeared in an instant. In the heavenly palace, Master Wang and the handsome young man were drinking and watching. What they wanted was a truly evil and top-notch peerless king. Is that the seed cultivated by the Dao mansion? 9 reincarnations, each one more outrageous than the last, and finally it was polished into the sharpest sword. A clergyman was discussing quietly nearby. Lord of the palace, which little guy do you think is the best? He has been in the Xiao reincarnation cave for a year, and it doesn't seem to have made much progress. A strong man looked at an elegant middle-aged man. It's too early to draw a conclusion now. Lord of the palace smiled and shook his head. You guys take good care of Liu Tong. That little guy is destined to be with a big shot in our Dao mansion, and he has secretly rescued him several times. An old man with a goatee transmitted a message. Oh. All eyes immediately turned to the ugly figure in the mirror. Unlike them, Lord of the Palace had been looking at one of the mountains and forests. It actually fell there? He frowned slightly. Look, that's the Shanhei Peak. What a spectacular Shanhei Peak. If I can enter the Shanhei realm void once in my life, it will be worth it. A strong man in the spectator's seat exclaimed. Qi Jihuang is fighting with a demon, and that demon has only one leg. How can it be so strong? There are many demons in this Shanhei Peak. Not good. If this happens, once the kings get the Shanhei seal or the Jiang seal, they will not only have to deal with the kings, but also the demons. Suddenly, the spectator's seat exploded. The 9 realms, Xiangquan City, Su Garden. Sudong, be careful. There is miasma all around you. Your luck is really bad. You actually fell into an ancient corpse cave. Feng Lao Rongzi spoke, although he knew that Sudong's Tuosh clone couldn't hear him. But he still looked at the scene in front of him with a worried face, and next to him was Sudong's colorful stone clone with the same frown. The miasma seems to be very corrosive. My Tuosh clone has cultivated the first level of the immortal golden body, but the divine body should still be corroded. I have divided my divine power to maintain the golden body. In the next battle, it would be good if I can exert 40% of my strength at most. He had a feeling that Tuosh's clone was in a bad state. That swordsman seems to be in a bad situation. Haha, God is helping me. In the void observation seat, King Shinzuzu looked at Sudong in the picture with a smile on his face. He stared at a huge purple forest in the picture. There was a huge area filled with white bones and corpses in the forest. There stood a young man in a black robe, and there was a faint golden light on his body. That's enough, swordsman. It's enough to go to the mountain and sea realm to see the world. Why do you want to go so high? It's good to be an ordinary king. Ordinary kings don't get much resources from the Huangquan Dao Fu to cultivate. When Sudong becomes the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor, he will not be afraid of the sky supporting Void Ancestor. Not to mention that there is a great possibility that Sudong will fall before he becomes the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor. The cultivation of kings in Huangquan Dao Fu is also very cruel. After all, in order for a strong man to stand up, in addition to talent, he must also have enough tempering. At this moment, Countless strong lives in the spectator seats focused their eyes on Shanhei Peak, shocked by the scene in Shanhei Peak, and worried and anxious about their own kings in the Void Era. Of course, there are also those who are excited in an instant. For example, the Battlefield Void Era. The one-armed King Liu Tong fell into Shanhei Peak, holding a giant hammer. A fierce lion demon with the top power of the God King came to attack him, and he was directly smashed by his hammer. He hammered the demons he saw all the way, and he seemed to have a deep hatred for the demons. Other kings are still adapting to the environment and considering what to do next. However, he followed the path that the lion demon came all the way and tracked all the way to a Lion King cave. The Lion King demon, with enough strength to be at the level of the God Emperor, has a body as big as a small mountain, roaring to the sky and looking down on the forest. But Liu Tong is not afraid at all, swinging his giant hammer and rushing forward, fighting with the Lion King. This battle was extremely bloody, and Liu Tong's chest was torn by the Lion King several times, and the blood of the gods was scattered. Although he was in the Taoist mansion, he said he would not die, but he still had to endure the pain. Liu Tong fought with the Lion King, as if he could not feel the pain or fear. In the end, he smashed the Lion King's head with a hammer, destroying the Lion King's life core, and by chance, a big seal was found in the Lion King's cave. The big seal emits a faint black light, and there are rivers reflected on all sides. It is a river seal. This Liu Tong is too scary, too cruel. This book has been updated recently in @ update. He is more demonic than a demon. He is just a monster. Everyone who watched this battle was shocked by Liu Tong's fighting style. He is not a human. He is a monster. But no matter what, the first river seal was born, and Liu Tong obtained it. Apart from Liu Tong, the second one who performed horribly was Zhang Zifeng, who was extremely talented and popular, dressed in a purple robe, and covered with purple secret patterns on his face. He mastered too many Taoist magics. When he landed in Shanhei Peak, he used terrible Taoist magic to grind the mountain flat and search for Shanhei Seal. These were the two people who performed the most amazingly at first. Some of the other kings were busy looking for Shanhei Seal and River Seal. Some were attracted by the dim light stimulated by the River Seal obtained by Liu Tong, and wanted to fight for it, while others found a hidden place first, brewing calmly, without any hurry. Of course, the most unlucky ones were those who fell into despair as soon as they entered Shanhei Peak. Qi Huang is very fierce. When he met two provocative kings, he didn't care and just killed them. This is the domineering attitude that the top kings of the Middle Ages should have. The ancient country of Liuang was boiling, and countless goddesses and goddesses shouted for Qi Huang. Extremely crazy. The stronger Qi Huang was, the more excited they were. Of course, there were also those who looked depressed and nervous. It's over. It's over. How did the swordsman fall into a desperate situation? Why is it so unlucky? I fell into a desperate situation as soon as I came here. That is the ancient corpse cave. There may be a Holy Spirit level ancient corpse living in it. Do you see the purple miasma? It's the legendary corpse miasma. Even the God Emperor and the Immortal Emperor can't stand that miasma. The swordsman is so unlucky. Many people who were worried about Sudan were praying there, and the Nine Realms Lord and other powerful people watched in silence. Everyone, think positively. Sudan is not the most unlucky one. Thunderfire Celestial Immortal was encouraging everyone's morale. Just now, a king fell into a crater. That volcano is a furnace of heaven and earth. All the samadhi true fire in it burned him to death. Sudan is unlucky, and he is also the second most unlucky one. The strong man of the divine fire ancient country directly controlled him to shut up. Is the swordsman finished like this? Many people looked at the empty picture. In the picture, in front of the ancient corpse cave of Shanhei Peak. Ancient corpse cave. Sudan shook his long sleeves, and a long sword fell into his hand. He looked around cautiously, and his powerful spirit spread all around. Purple miasma rolled, and the sky and the earth were dark in an instant. Endless corpse gas gushed out from the huge cave, like endless evil spirits rushing towards him. Chapter 427. The ancient corpse cave bears the corpse of God. Waves of eerie and terrifying aura instantly filled the entire world. In the rolling sinister aura, a towering and huge ancient city loomed in it. The city was comparable to a small world and loomed at the entrance of the ancient cave. Rich soul light and corpse water rushed up from the ancient city, which was even more creepy and horrible in the endless sinister aura. However, the entrance of the entire ancient corpse cave was silent. It was so quiet that it was a little scary. There was no sound at all. The sky and the earth were dark, and the sun and the moon were silent. The ancient corpse cave was full of the vicissitudes of time, as if it had penetrated the void of many eras and was eternal. It was like a harbor for the dead, and it seemed to be the last hometown of the deceased. It was eternal in endless years. Sudan felt that, even if this ancient corpse cave was not an ancient cave of the same level as the Ziyu Samsara cave, it was also a first-class strange place. It's just that the Ziyu reincarnation cave is a top treasure land, and this ancient corpse cave is a most dangerous place. The ancient corpse cave is surrounded by endless death energy for thousands of miles. The endless death energy spreads out from it, slowly spreading and rolling. This strange cave seems to be swallowing and spitting out endless extinction. What a terrible ancient corpse cave. I seem to see the corpse of the god emperor lying in it. There are countless corpses of the god level in the god king realm. The god blood is dried up, and the corpse water is flowing. It's terrible. It's terrible. The swordsman actually fell into such a desperate situation. The gods and immortals who saw this scene in the void viewing seats were all shocked and sighed. It's over. It's over. Li Hoshiangson had already turned pale, and his soul was trembling. Fortunately, Sudan is the king of Huanquandeofu. Even if he falls into a desperate situation, he can save his life, and will not die. However, this desperate situation also means that Sudan's road to the king's decisive battle has come to an end. For a strong man to rise, he needs not only strength, but also luck. This swordsman has bad luck. Look. The death aura that permeates the ancient corpse cave is shrinking. The death aura and the sinister aura had already swallowed up Sudan. The purple miasma mixed in it could make the divine body decay, and the divine blood dry up. The soul was with it. These auras representing death had already swallowed up Sudan's figure. Then began an unparalleled and spectacular swallowing and spitting of death aura. It was like the tide rising and falling. The thick death aura that enveloped the area of tens of millions of miles began to slowly absorb, after spreading to the extreme. Roar. In the ancient corpse cave, a terrible beast roar came. The roar was similar to the roar of a dragon and the roar of a tiger, shaking the whole world. With this roar, the thick and rolling death aura contracted even more. Although the death energy shrank, the surrounding land and sky became even more gloomy and terrifying. From large flying birds and beasts to small snakes, insects, rats and ants, all disappeared. The rolling death energy was like the hungriest forager, devouring all living creatures. There was only gloomy white bones left in the surrounding area, which looked even whiter, gathering into a white ocean, interpreting the magnificent scene of death. Sudan, who was originally standing in the same place, also disappeared with the rolling of the death energy. The king swordsman, who was very popular in the void in the Middle Ages, unexpectedly disappeared in front of countless void masters in an instant. Only the huge ancient corpse cave was left standing in the endless white bones, as if a terrible giant beast opened its dark mouth and waited for the arrival of prey. It was indescribably weird and terrifying. Swordsman Sudan disappeared. Was he eliminated? The entire void viewing area was in an uproar, almost exploding. He was not eliminated. He should have been swallowed by the ancient corpse cave. That terrible ancient cave seems like a strange giant beast that spans endless time, and he knows how to find food by himself. Being swallowed by the ancient corpse cave. What's the difference between being eliminated? A strong man stared. The Middle Ages of the void were all shocked. The strongest swordsman in Huanquan. The top world god who mastered the 12-layer outer heaven sword technique. He was eliminated just like this. The whole void viewing area exploded. I don't even support the Thunderfire Celestial. I always thought that this swordsman could become the most shining king in countless void eras. I didn't expect it. An extremely pure and pretty goddess sighed in the viewing area of the divine fire ancient country. Because of Sudan's rise, too many goddesses and goddesses favored him and supported him even more than the goddess Zazu and Thunderfire Celestial in their own country. But now they can only sigh for it. There is no way. The swordsman's luck is too bad. Luck is also a part of strength. Countless strong men felt sorry for it. The Nine Realms ancient country was even more silent. The King of Nine Realms even stared at the terrifying ancient corpse cave in the picture in front of him with a dull look. His face was as pale as paper. It's over? It's over like this? I had high hopes for him. Is this Sudan? Is it over like this? At this moment, Sudan was eliminated. At best, he was the Nine Crown King. Although his status was also very high. But it was far from his inner expectations. This Sudan, his luck was too bad, which disappointed him. My lifespan is approaching, and Zuzan and Shizan are all eyeing my position as the king. In this position, I can enjoy many resources, and have the hope of impacting the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor realm. If I abdicate, everything will be in vain. If this Sudan can become the core king under the 10 palaces King, holding the Book of Life and Death, and making some concessions, it will not be difficult for him to give me a lifespan of 10,000 years. The King of Nine Realms has lived for a long time, and has seen all kinds of geniuses, but he really invested in Sudan. Not only did he give him a small world, but he also took care of him, and cared about everything. Such a strong man's attitude naturally meant that his goal would not be too small. This book has been updated recently in Update. Just as Zuzan expected, the end of his lifespan is approaching, and the King of Nine Realms has placed all his hopes on the brilliant Sudan, the king. Unfortunately, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. At this moment, the King of Nine Realms is almost crazy. It shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be like this. This Sudan has such bad luck. Haha, he was eliminated. That ancient corpse cave is a GD, that even the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor would not dare to go to. A small world god was easily eliminated. The Yellow Spring Deo Mansion King Battle Trial also chose a location, and actually chose the Shanhei Peak, one of the 10 peaks of Buzhao Mountain. King Shan Void Ancestor smiled and drank. He was extremely happy and cheerful. There are endless monsters in Shanhei Peak, and there are many dangerous areas that are famous in many void eras. That swordsman was defeated here. Li Hoshiangson silently left the spectator seat, waiting at a pavilion at the foot of Buzhao Mountain in the Shanhei realm. I'll take out my best wine to comfort my brother Sudan. Along the way, his admiration for Sudan was from the bottom of his heart. This time he was eliminated because of bad luck. To end up like this, Zuzan, Shizan and others also sighed. In the heavenly palace at the top of Buzhao Mountain, in front of the Jade Mirror. Lord, why don't you see the little guy you were looking forward to? A clergyman noticed it. He was swallowed into the ancient corpse cave. Lord still had a gentle smile on his face. Dragged into the ancient corpse cave. Then it's over. You can still laugh. It's not the end yet. Everything is undecided. Lord smiled faintly and shook his head. The Lord of Panzhan Mountain above was also just watching calmly. Enshrouded in endless death energy, Sudan walked forward in the death energy, and bursts of sinister ghost howls were transmitted into his soul sea. Suppress. In the thick soul sea, 3 giant beasts appeared around a golden giant bell. Chapter 428, Deciphering the Death Sutra in Despair. The Soul Secret Method. The Dragon Elephant Divine Bell guards the soul sea. All kinds of sinister ghost howls cannot affect Sudan's soul, nor can they affect his state of mind. In the past, I have always used the Dragon Elephant Divine Bell as a soul attack method, but in fact, this method is best at soul defense. 3 giant beasts surround the surface of the Golden Bell in Sudan's soul sea. The Sky Dragon, the Giant Elephant, and the Divine Kun. They firmly guard Sudan's soul sea. Let all the ghost howls of the ghosts and monsters retreat. Sudan was wrapped in death energy, and the dense death energy tried to break through his immortal golden body protection. This dense death energy made Sudan a little dizzy and his whole body felt a burning sensation that the divine blood wanted to burn and dry up. It was extremely painful. Since becoming a world god, when has his Tush body suffered such pain? Because there is no vitality and spiritual energy around him, his lips are chapped, and his skin even begins to crack and peel. The most terrifying thing is that his heartbeat began to become weak. Then, once he reaches a certain edge of death, then he will face the final elimination. After all this journey, I was eliminated here? I really can't accept it. Sudan also had a trace of resentment in his heart. This Huangquandaofu is also, the king's decisive battle is actually arranged in such an area, and there is such a desperate place in Shanhei Peak. What kind of decisive battle is there here? It's too unfair. But there is no way. Huangquandaofu selects kings. This is the rule. If you are eliminated, you can only blame your bad luck. The environment of Shanhei Peak is bad, not for one king, but for all kings. It's just that he is the unluckiest one among these kings. But before the last step of elimination, I have a chance. This ancient corpse cave is a desperate place. But a desperate place does not mean there is no hope. If there is really no hope, I can be eliminated directly from the moment I fall in front of the ancient corpse cave. Sudong narrowed his eyes slightly. As long as there is a glimmer of hope, I will seize it. He has just made great progress in strength, and has not yet fought a decisive battle with the kings of various void eras. He also has many unique skills such as Buddhism, soul, and magic. How can he give up easily? The death energy is very cold, without any temperature, but it can corrode Sudong's immortal golden body, but it makes Sudong's blood dry up, and he feels burning pain. The rolling death energy brings with it the smell of rotten and unpleasant corpse water. The ancient corpse cave is definitely not smaller than the slanting moon Samsara cave. This cave is like a large world. There is an ancient city standing in the world. The construction of the city is dark and deep, and there is a faint black and red luster in the depth like dried blood. In the city, there are countless bodies of gods lying here, and there are terrible ancient corpses wandering in the ancient city. Some of their bodies are broken, and some are only a skeleton. From time to time, a bone claw would suddenly emerge from the city wall. The claw resembled that of some demon, not human. The claw stretched out, scratched a terrible and hideous mark on the city wall, and was immediately swallowed by the unchanging city wall. The closer he got to the ancient city, the more withered Sudong's divine body became, as if he was really about to die. But suddenly, a gentle divine power burst out from every acupuncture point of his Tush clone, and every cell of the divine body of the world god. The divine power, that radiated light bit by bit, born from every corner of the divine body, gathered and infused into his divine blood. His body began to emit a layer of milky white light, which was particularly conspicuous and vigorous under the golden light. Sudong's body seemed to have an unprecedented vitality, which was extremely strong and vigorous. It nourished his dried blood vessels and strengthened his divine body. Is it the divine unicorn gene? Sudong widened his eyes. There was a hint of surprise in his eyes. When the clone of Tuosh was conceived, he had reluctantly dropped a drop of divine blood containing the gene of the divine unicorn, and finally reflected its value at this moment. It had actually been dormant in Sudong's body, but it had not been stimulated, and it was fully revealed at this moment. Using the soul to guide this vigorous life force, every part of Sudong's divine body absorbed a large amount of this life force, and felt the divine body grow stronger again. This feeling was really wonderful. Resurrection from the dead. The recovery of the divine body is an opportunity. I must seize the opportunity to solve the death energy of this ancient corpse cave. Once I fall into that ancient city, it will be over. Sudong walked forward in the death energy. He shuddered just by seeing the terrible ancient city standing in the cave with his naked eyes. I don't know how many strong men have died in this city from ancient times to the present. This is a dead city. This is the ancient corpse cave, the world of corpses, not a good place, but a GD. His first task now is to resist the absorption of this death energy, and avoid entering the ancient city. According to Sudong's premonition, the moment he is completely trapped in the ancient city is the moment he is truly eliminated. Swish. Sudong tried to mobilize his divine power, activated the void escape technique, wielded his long sword and flew away, going against the death energy, to rush out of the ancient corpse cave. But the death energy was so strong that, if he moved forward, it would only slowly erode his divine body, but if he moved backward, the death energy was like a blade scraping bones and flesh, with its power doubled, removing the flesh and blood of Sudong's divine body, scaring Sudong to stop immediately. He didn't even dare to use his sword skills. In front of this death energy, my sword skills are useless. Let's try to activate the Buddha kingdom in my palm. Sudong activated his palm skills, trying to fight a way out with his palm skills. but a beautiful golden Buddha kingdom appeared in his palm, and the Buddha's light illuminated the 4 directions, but before he could swing it, it was wiped out in the death energy. Sudong frowned slightly. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. Then his mind sank into the core of Tush's physical body. The core of life was the Zumi Buddha kingdom. Above the Buddha kingdom, there was a page of Buddhist scriptures. This page of Buddhist scriptures came from the Samsara cave. A page of Buddhist scriptures can reflect the future and reveal the true essence of the Taoist magic of the way of death. A page of Buddhist scriptures records many tadpole characters, which are twisted and have a faint Buddha light shining. This is a page of death scripture from the Samsara cave, which is mysterious and unpredictable, extremely ancient, and has a foundation, not under this ancient corpse cave. Sudong didn't know whether this page of Buddhist scriptures could help him find a ray of hope in this ancient corpse cave, but at this moment, the ancient and terrifying dead city was already in front of him. In that ancient city, it seemed that a strong man with a huge black corpse water all over his body had stood up and was ready to start today's feast. In short, at this moment, he was completely desperate. With a move of his mind, the core data will consciousness tried to mobilize this page of Buddhist scriptures. The core data will consciousness could even attach to the way of the operation of heaven and earth, so this page of Buddhist scriptures could naturally be attached and interpreted. When Sudong's core data will was attached to a page of Buddhist scriptures, but the core data will consciousness space vibrated violently, and the tadpole text on the surface of a page of Buddhist scriptures twisted and jumped. A circle of faint Buddha light appeared around Sudong's body. The Buddha light was surrounded by strange scriptures. No one could understand this scripture, but Sudong stood in the Buddhist scriptures. The originally fierce death energy around him seemed to soften in an instant, as if a warm spring breeze was blowing on his body. Very comfortable, very pleasant. Sudong did not move forward, but stopped in front of the ancient city. Boom. Sudong turned into a black light and instantly flew to a huge rock extending from the cave. The Buddhist scriptures were wrapped around him. The scriptures did not have any special power, but it seemed to just restrain the death energy. In the Buddhist scriptures, the death energy turned unusually soft and peaceful. In this ancient corpse cave with a strong death energy, Sudong seemed to have returned to a warm harbor. Very strange. I feel like this page of the Buddhist scripture shouldn't be called the death scripture, but rather the corpse scripture. Sudong thought to himself. At the same time, he was extremely excited. He had found a way out of a desperate situation, and he looked at the endless and dense death aura. Is there any place more suitable than here to comprehend the way of death? Chapter 429 Hiding in the Corpse Cave. The Dao mansion randomly threw more than 400 kings into Shanhei Peak to look for Shanhei Seal and Jiang Seal. Why not just put them in the open? Instead, they let the kings look for them. Obviously, they want the kings to venture into Shanhei Peak. Sudong's eyes lit up slightly, and the crisis was resolved. Only then did he really think about the rules of the King's War. Although the King's War will eventually make them fight the most brutal battles, that is after getting the Shanhei Seal or Jiang Seal. Before that, the most important thing is to find and venture. Finding and venturing may give you a chance. If more than 400 kings do not look for and wait for the final fight, these 20 seals will never come out. Moreover, it stands to reason that 11 Jiang Seals will be easier to get than 9 Shanhei Seals, but most kings will not be satisfied with Jiang Seals, and will definitely strive for Shanhei Seals. It is destined that Shanhei Seal is the highlight. There are as many as 9 Shanhei Seals, which gives this king's battle a very long time. And it is obvious. Both Shanhei Seal and Jiang Seal are not easy to find. It is difficult to find them, and it is even more difficult to keep them. Each mountain and sea seal must be guarded for a month after it is born. This month represents endless battles. None of the more than 400 kings will give up. The King War has just begun. I have enough time. This ancient corpse cave is an excellent place to comprehend the way of death. I can fully comprehend the way of death here. With the blessing of eternal time and space, I can use one day as 100 days. In the past, he interpreted the way of death through swordsmanship and magic. But now, the death aura in this ancient corpse cave is thick, and the origin of the way of death is almost equivalent to being presented in front of him. Comprehending the way of death directly is faster and more thorough than comprehending it through techniques and magic. And the more thoroughly he comprehends the origin of the way of death, the better his swordsmanship and magic will naturally be. It's settled. 1 month. I will comprehend here for 1 month. After 1 month, the river seal and the mountain and sea seal will be born in the outside world. By then, my strength will be higher. It will be easier to get the mountain and sea seal. As long as I fight for the mountain and sea seal, it will be easier to keep it. Sudong smiled. The faint Buddhist scriptures were wrapped around him, and twisted and obscure tadpole scriptures were circling around him. Sudong tried to enter the eternal time and space. Eternal time and space is a unique application. As long as you pay enough heaven and earth crystals, the soul can enter it and operate, and time will be slowed down 100 times. Sudong's soul comprehended the way of death in the ancient corpse cave. At the same time, he practiced, because it was absolutely forbidden for the king, to hide in the portable cave or the magic palace in the mountain and sea peak. So Sudong's body was on the huge boulder platform extending from the ancient corpse cave. Because there was a page of Buddhist scriptures to protect his body, Sudong was extremely convenient to study the way of death here, and at the same time, verified in the swordsmanship and magic skills. He felt that the power of his swordsmanship and magic skills were growing rapidly. The outside world could not peek into the ancient corpse cave. Even the Bashao Mountain Heavenly Palace cannot peek here. The ancient corpse cave is a GD, that is no less than the Zia Samsara cave. It is also a first-class area in the entire mountain and sea realm void era. Rumor has it that the ancient corpse cave existed in the early days of the mountain and sea realm void era. At that time, the entire void era was desolate, and there were no immortal cultivators. The humans in the outside world were very weak, and giant beasts dominated the world. There were floods and beasts everywhere, which was extremely terrifying. Later, the human race rose. An invincible strong man who knew life and death opened up the ancient corpse cave. The ancient corpse cave later directly evolved into a cultivation tradition of an era. It has experienced ups and downs in the development of history. Because the cultivation tradition is evil, it is also rejected by the world and almost destroyed. But after going through the test, until now, endless years have passed. The ancient corpse cave still stands and exists in the mountain and sea realm void era. It is eternal in this era. The mountain and sea realm void era is one of the most important void eras in Huanquandaofu. Naturally, there are truly terrifying strong men lurking here, and of course, they are all great beings of Huanquandaofu. In the ancient dead city of the ancient corpse cave, the extremely huge ancient city seems to have a pair of invisible eyes, silently watching the figure of the young man who is immersed in cultivation on the platform in the ancient corpse cave. This little guy's really lucky. He actually carries a page of the dead sutra of that dead Taoist. The eyes of this great being are extremely vicious, and he can see the origin of the page of Buddhist scriptures on Sudong at a glance. You have rich merits on your body. No wonder you have such luck. Well, I will let you stay here for 10 days and a half months, and I will drive you out when the time is up. As a king participating in the king's war, you can practice here for a while, but you want to hide here all the time. That's not possible. Just when Sudong was immersed in cultivation, the outside world was turbulent. The void viewing seats were even more boiling. The swordsmanship of the silver blade god combines with the space of heaven and earth. When he swings his sword, he feels the silver sword light everywhere, which is erratic and unstoppable. He has persisted for 7 days, since he got the river seal in the lotus pond. No, it's already the 8th day. In 8 days, he was attacked by more than 40 kings. It's terrible. There were several sieges. Silver Blade God, hold on. The audience in the Void Age of the Middle Ages was shouting wildly. In their era, there were a total of 4 kings who participated in the King's Battle. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. They are Qi Jiuang, Zhaozu, Silver Blade God, and Sudong. The most dazzling among them are Qi Jiuang and Sudong, followed by the goddess Zhaozu, and finally the Silver Blade God. But now, the swordsman Sudong, who was originally the focus of everyone's attention, died early. Qi Jiuang and the goddess Zhaozu are still looking for the mountain and sea seal. Only the Silver Blade God was lucky enough to find a river seal in a lotus pond. His requirements were not high. He didn't even dare to think about the mountain and sea seal. He just wanted to keep this river seal. Half a month. I'm good at speed and body movements. I don't believe I can't keep it. This was the original thought of the Silver Blade God. Unfortunately, the truth is extremely cruel. In the void observation seat, countless strong men were watching the scene in front of them. They all belonged to the same void era, and naturally they were eager to see the kings who came out of their void era become more powerful and win a river seal. Yang Ning. Although you are my youngest disciple, you are my most satisfied disciple. In a huge and luxurious spectator seat, a white-haired old man in a white robe with a kind and benevolent face looked at the scene in front of him. He smiled. As the Saint Lord of Jiuhua Mountain, he was famous in the void. He had countless disciples, but the one he liked the most was the Silver Blade God Yang Ning. The Saint Lord of Jiuhua Mountain was a celestial being who became a holy spirit. The Taoism of heaven and earth space was even more unique. But for this disciple, he personally created a sword technique, tailor-made for him. Silver Knife God did not disappoint him, and he has come all the way to now. In his estimation, Silver Knife God Yang Ning is still confident of keeping the river seal. Not good. He looked at the picture in front of him, and his brows suddenly frowned. In the picture, the Silver Knife God, who had been using his body skills and speed, turned his body into a silver light and moved erratically, shuttling through the mountains and forests. Suddenly, a figure with a gun appeared in front of him. Is it that gun demon Du Gusheng? Many strong men in the void observation seat held their breath. Gun demon Du Gusheng, from the void of the ancient heroes era, has a very strong spear. Since the king's decisive battle, he has traveled to the mountain and sea peak, killed countless demons, and has never been defeated. Such a strong man, not looking for the mountain and sea seal, but fighting for the river seal. There is another figure behind Gun Demon Du Gusheng, that is a celestial being with a very pure appearance. In the picture, there was no communication. The Gun Demon Du Gusheng drew his gun in an instant. With a surge of powerful force, he broke the Silver Knife God's swordsmanship and body movements with one shot. In an instant, the tip of the gun pierced through the Silver Knife God's chest. Chapter 430, Blooming in Every Era. What a terrible shot. The shot was fired, and the void was shocked. This strong man from the ancient hero void era instantly showed his terrible strength, and severely injured the Silver Knife God Yang Ning with one shot. In order to save his life, Yang Ning threw out the river seal, and turned around to escape. This was the 9th day, after he got the river seal. He encountered the gun demon Du Gusheng and the river seal was taken away. Shameless. Too much. Many strong men in Jiuhua Mountain roared and boiled, and countless gods roared in anger. The gun demon Du Gusheng should have fought for the mountain and sea seal, but he actually fought for the river seal. Haven't you figured it out? He fought for the river seal for the female fairy behind him. Unfair. The void in the Middle Ages was boiling, but the other void eras just smiled. That gun demon Du Gusheng is very strong. Do you know the world fairy behind him? Fairyland from the void of the 100 Flowers era. Of course I know her. If I were strong enough, I would also be willing to win a river seal for Fairyland. There was a lot of discussion, and no one thought that the gun demon Du Gusheng had gone too far. Who stipulated that he could not fight for the river seal, and who stipulated that he could not give the river seal to others? Of course, he was not the only one who did this, which also made the king's decisive battle in Shanhei Peak even more chaotic. It's really abominable. If our sword god Qi Jiuyang or swordsman Sudong were here, how could he let him show off his power? Don't mention a swordsman. Weak strength. There's nothing to say. Qi Jiuyang wants to challenge that water tiger. Another corner of Shanhei Peak. Qi Jiuyang, wearing a tattered red robe, held a dazzling sword, and stood above a surging river. In the river, there was a terrifying demon lurking. The demon had not revealed its true form, but its huge outline could be seen through the water. Its fierce power was brewing in the river. It was a terrifying demon that could mobilize the power of the river, but now Qi Jiuyang was going to kill him. Many powerful people in the Void era were watching this scene. This Qi Jiuyang in the Void of the Middle Ages is really terrifying. I can feel the sharpness of his sword light through the screen. Well, I feel numb. But that is a demon beast with ancient blood, and the blood of giant beasts flows in its body. Its strength must be at the level of the God Emperor. More than. In the Xiangang on the top of Buzhao Mountain, the Lord of Pan's Hang Mountain, Master Wang, calmly looked at the picture in the jade mirror in the palace. At this moment, Qi Jiuyang's figure was also reflected in the picture. Is this the sword that Shen Shiremo used? It took her a lot of energy, and it looks really extraordinary. The two communicated. They knew Qi Jiuyang's origins inside and out. The person behind him is at the same level as them. Many clergymen were discussing. Most of them thought Qi Jiuyang was very strong. Even the lord of the mansion nodded slightly. But from time to time, he would pay attention to the corner of the ancient corpse cave in the picture. He pinched his fingertips. Try to deduce. Sudang. The secret of the ancient corpse cave is hidden. I can't deduce anything, but I can deduce that you should not have been eliminated from Shanhei Peak. If you haven't been eliminated, then there is still a chance. The lord of the mansion thought, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Look, it started. Suddenly a clergyman exclaimed. Everyone looked over. Qi Jiuyang swung the magic sword in his hand fiercely. The magic sword swung out. The sword light was dazzling and stunning. 140,000 miles of sword light hung in the air, and endless sword energy gathered to cover the entire river, and then fell like a group of bright stars in an instant, covering the monsters lurking in the river below. Boom. The sword light was incredibly fast and powerful, splitting the river, and landing on the back of the monster. Then Qi Jiuyang swooped down instantly, swinging the magic sword, and attacking the monster wantonly. The terrible monster could only roll to resist, and the bright blood instantly dyed the surging river red. Qi Jiuyang was killing the monster. The picture shook the void. This was the strongest sword in Huangquan Daofu, and it finally showed its edge. Not only him, but also the kings everywhere in Shanhei Peak showed their divine power and immortal power. Liu Tong killed several monsters in the mountains, and defeated many kings who came to snatch his river seal. No one could defeat him. Zhang Zifeng moved mountains, and filled the sea, and his thousands of Taoist magic skills were amazing and invincible. The most mysterious world god Beifan stood on a cliff. Looking up at the vast sky, he was stunned on the cliff. He seemed to be sighing. But no one dared to underestimate this young man. Because under this cliff, there is a rushing sea of blood. The sea of blood flows under his feet, but he sighs, and stares into the sky. For whom is he sighing, and for whom is he staring into the sky? The King Pengai with wings on his back flies between the mountains. His speed is unmatched, and he is trying his best to find the mountain and sea seal. The unreachable goddess Yuling is in a cave with a world god. They are fighting against a cave of white fox monsters, showing amazing style. The king's decisive battle can be called 100 flowers blooming. These kings who can amaze an era make the audience in the void viewing seats amazed. This book has been updated recently in #@. Update. Shocking, refreshing, and hearty. The battle in the mountain and sea peaks has never stopped. There are powerful and invincible monsters in the mountains, causing a massacre. The way of death is to destroy it, to annihilate it, and not a single inch of life will be left. In the ancient corpse cave, with the protection of the Buddhist scriptures, 12 days passed in a blink of an eye. Sudang's soul spent a full 1,200 days in eternal time and space. It was not boring at all, and he gained a lot. In the wooden manali of Zumi Buddha Kingdom, Sudang swung his knife, and the knife light turned into a strange vein. The vein was like ripples on the water. The ripples reflected endless death energy. The death energy was like a tide, directly splitting the bronze man piles one by one, until the 812th bronze man was split, and the knife pattern dissipated. Boom boom boom. The remaining 178 bronze men in the bronze man alley rushed up in an instant. Each bronze man contained the power of the god emperor and the immortal emperor. The power was vast, and wanted to crush Sudang. Sudang flipped his hand, and pushed it out horizontally. A beautiful golden kingdom gathered in his palm. Boom. The Buddha kingdom in the palm suppressed all enemies. The huge power carried the power of the way of death, and suppressed the 178 bronze men rushing in front. Like crushing withered trees and rotten wood, many bronze men were directly crushed and defeated. Bronze Man Ali passed. After such a long period of comprehension, Sudang's strength has soared again. The 999 bronze men in Bronze Man Alley are best at siege, but in front of Sudang, who has mastered the palm technique of the Buddha kingdom, they are directly pushed and crushed. Being able to pass through Bronze Man Alley also means that Sudong's strength has truly reached the upper middle level of the Divine Emperor Immortal Emperor. The origin of the Way of Death has mastered the outline and has advanced to a higher level. This is what he has gained in these 12 days. The effect of cultivation in this ancient corpse cave is better than I thought. Sudong thought to himself. He passed through Bronze Man Alley and his goal was Iron Man Alley. Only those who have reached the top power level of the Divine Emperor Immortal Emperor can pass through Iron Man Alley. Obviously, practicing in this ancient corpse cave, his own strength has skyrocketed. How can he miss the opportunity? Well, it's almost done. In the ancient corpse cave, the great existence who was watching Sudong in the dark smiled. Boom. An unprecedented strong evil spirit suddenly spread from the dead ancient city. Sudong, who was practicing on the stone platform, instantly felt the invasion of the evil spirit. The evil spirit rushed over and instantly enveloped the area where he was. Under the cover of this evil spirit, the faint Buddha light surrounding his body kept trembling, as if it would collapse at any time. Not good. Sudong's face changed. He relied on a page of Buddhist scriptures to protect his body in this ancient corpse cave. At this moment, this evil spirit suddenly appeared and seemed to break through the Buddhist scriptures. How could he not be shocked? He quickly got up and flew out of the stone platform. Forget it. This ancient corpse cave is a dead end. We can't stay for long. It's better to get out as soon as possible. Sudong immediately turned into a stream of light, wrapped in the Buddhist scriptures and instantly rushed out of the ancient corpse cave. In the heavenly palace, the lord of the mansion, who had been distracted by the corner of the ancient corpse cave in the jade mirror, suddenly raised his eyebrows. He saw a stream of light rushing out of the cave, and a smile suddenly appeared in his eyes. The handsome young man Pan Zhongshan Lord King, who had always been calm and indifferent, also smiled. Chapter 431, Swordsman in the Medieval Age. How many of those who entered the ancient corpse cave have come out? The handsome young man of Pan's Hang Mountain Lord had a smile in his eyes. Looking at the flowing figure in the corner of the jade mirror, he thought to himself, it's not ordinary to be able to escape from the mouth of that old ghost. At the beginning, the old ghost was so anxious that he devoured tens of thousands of creatures in the world and turned them into food. For this reason, he angered the eldest brother and took action to suppress him forever in the ancient corpse cave. This old ghost has never given anyone face. Why did he change his nature this time? There was doubt in the eyes of Pan's Hang Mountain Lord, but more of a smile. Since the foot of the South Mountain Gate, he has been very optimistic about Sudong. At this moment, Sudong escaped from death, and he was naturally happier. With great merit, he will naturally have good luck. This little guy has a high level of attainment in Cheyenne Waishan swordsmanship, and is good at swordsmanship. He has good talent and comprehension. Not bad. Pan's Hang Mountain Lord was very satisfied. Inside Shanhei Peak, Sudong rushed out of the ancient corpse cave and left the area of bones covered with white bones that looked like a piece of snow. He landed in a forest, looking back at the terrifying ancient corpse cave standing in the era. The huge trees and flowers easily obscured his body. I thought that a page of Buddhist scriptures was extremely special and could keep me safe in this ancient corpse cave. It seems that I thought too much. This ancient corpse cave has another big secret. The terrible evil spirit did not erupt earlier. It erupted after I practiced for 12 days. Sudong was helpless. He was still calculating the time. There was obviously a strong man lurking in the ancient corpse cave. The appearance of a page of Buddhist scriptures made him eligible to survive, but he couldn't stay in it all the time. The king's decisive battle and fighting were the right way. In fact, it was not only because of a page of Buddhist scriptures. The terrible strong man in the ancient corpse cave also saw that he had great merits and great luck, so he was particularly lenient and treated him specially. The strong man committed a heinous crime at the beginning, so he was forever imprisoned in the ancient corpse cave. Saving people with great luck and great merits can also make up for his own sins, so he was allowed to practice in the ancient corpse cave for 12 days. Although they left the ancient corpse cave earlier than expected, the harvest was enough. I have made further progress in strength, and it is time to look for the mountain and sea seal. Sudong looked up at the sky, in all directions. Within 3 hours, 3 faint lights flashed across the sky, and there was no rainbow light. The river seal only stimulates a faint light once every 24 hours, while the mountain and sea seal is stimulated once every hour. In 12 days, only 3 river seals appeared. The river seals have to be guarded for half a month before they can completely recognize their master. Sudong nodded slightly. This king's decisive battle is destined to take a very long time, and 12 days will not have much impact. River seal. My target is the mountain and sea seal. Deep mountains and swamps gather big monsters. If this mountain and sea seal is to be hidden, it should be hidden in some areas where big monsters appear. Sudong thought in his heart. There are many kings who think like him, such as Qi Jiang, who went to the surging river basin to kill monsters, and the goddess Yuling and her companions also went into the deep mountain monster cave to find the trace of the mountain and sea seal. Let's go. Sudong wore a black robe. He turned into a black stream of light and quietly shuttled through the vast mountains and forests. His huge and strong soul spread out, and the surrounding scenes of thousands of miles were clearly reflected in his mind. Searching everywhere. Shanhei Peak is extremely huge. The 400 kings landed here, and they were all scattered, so it was difficult to meet them. After searching everywhere for an hour, Sudong immediately felt a special breath. In a canyon thousands of miles away, a white-robed king was killing a cave monster in a cave. His huge soul swept over, and the white-robed king immediately noticed it, and the equally terrifying soul suddenly burst out. Huh. Sudong's face showed a trace of surprise. The king's soul was very strong, almost comparable to his. The kings who could come to Shanhei Peak were indeed extraordinary. A strong soul requires opportunities and the nourishment of heaven and earth treasures. Before I find the Shanhei seal, there is no need for me to fight with these kings. Sudong said secretly. But, get out of here. In his soul, the white-robed king roared. Sudong, who had not wanted to pay attention to the king, frowned. Then his figure turned into a dark light, whistling like a black lightning that had been passing through, and went straight through the mountains and forests, and in a flash, he arrived at the monster cave, where the white-robed king was. Looking for death. The white-robed king's face was cold, and a fairy sword appeared in his hand. He pinched a sword formula with his fingers, and the fairy sword was more or less filled with thunder and lightning. Sudong waved his palm at the moment of killing, and his hand turned into a knife. Suddenly, a dark knife light appeared. After comprehending the way of death in the ancient corpse cave, both his swordsmanship and Taoist magic skills were touched and improved, especially the swordsmanship. The improvement of the 12th level Outer Heaven swordsmanship was even more terrifying. Although he did not draw the knife, he just waved his palm and used his palm as a knife. But Sudong also has a wonderful palm technique, the Buddha Kingdom in the palm. With the way of death as the medium, his strength is all in his palms. He has to use his palms to perform sword techniques and magic tricks. Therefore, the sword light he swung with his palms is also ridiculously powerful. Sword light. The white-robed king sneered. His soul is powerful, so he easily caught the sword light that was shooting towards him at that moment. Thunder sword technique. The white-robed king roared, and suddenly the fairy sword in his hand suddenly soared into the sky, and then turned into a flash of lightning with dazzling brilliance. Countless sword shadows were entangled in the lightning, and hundreds of lightning flashed down at once, rushed towards the sword light that was shooting forward. Puff puff puff. Just like scissors easily cut paper into pieces, hundreds of lightning sword shadows blocked the sword light, and were easily cut into pieces by the sword light. The sword light didn't even pause. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. What? The white-robed king was shocked. According to his estimation of his own strength, he should be able to easily break the sword light, but he didn't expect that he would be suppressed instead. Among the 400 kings, I only need to be careful of the first 6. Which king is this? The white-robed king was shocked, wanting to see the figure of the king who was coming to kill him. Sudong's face was cold. I didn't want to attack you, but since you provoked me, then eliminate you. Swish. Sudong's sword light arrived in front of the white-robed king, and the terrible murderous aura of the 12 layers of heavenly swordsmanship finally broke out, gathering the most terrible swordsmanship that was enough to shock the void, and instantly revealed its majestic side. The terrible sword intent even invaded the mind of the white-robed king. The dark sword light seemed to tear the sky and the earth apart, trying to break through the air to prove the truth. "This is a heavenly sword technique," the white-robed king exclaimed. "Sword techniques are common, and there are countless world gods who are good at using swords. However, the 12-layer heavenly sword technique is famous in the void. It is so terrible that he can't recognize it. Once the 12-layer heavenly sword technique is released, it will definitely shock the entire void era. This is known as the most terrifying sword technique. It is widely spread, but the difficulty of cultivation is also extremely high. The more you practice, the more difficult it is, so there are very few gods who practice it. This time, among the 400 kings, only one king became famous for the 12-layer heavenly sword technique. You are a swordsman in the void in the Middle Ages. He also collected information from many powerful people. The swordsman in the Middle Ages became famous for the 12-layer heavenly sword technique and was good at the secret method of the soul. The soul is powerful, and the sword technique is powerful. Who is this king, if not a swordsman? "Ah, I don't believe I can't break your sword technique." The white-robed king exploded. He controlled the lightning flash of the immortal sword in front of him and tried to shake Sudang's sword light, but the sword light was devastating and cut off his sword light layer by layer. Puff! It instantly penetrated his immortal body. Wow! The white-robed king only felt a pain in his neck, and his eyes blurred. When he appeared again, he was already on the siphon peak of Buzhao Mountain. "I was eliminated? Yu Sanjian, you were also eliminated? Yu Sanjian, you are still confident that you can win the river seal with your strength, but you were eliminated so early?" On the siphon peak, all the eliminated kings gathered here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 432, Annihilation of an Era. I lost. I just lost like that. The white-robed king stood there in a daze. He seemed not to hear the conversations with the kings he knew. "I thought I could at least win a river seal, but I didn't expect to be eliminated so early." Yu Sanjian shook his head. "I didn't even find the trace of the river seal before I met that swordsman. Soul sweeps and collisions are common. I told him to get out first and provoked him, which angered him and made him attack me." Yu Sanjian closed his eyes. He couldn't blame anyone else. He could only blame himself for being too arrogant and self-reliant. He recalled the scene when Sudang attacked. What a terrible sword technique from the outside world. What a terrible swordsman. He used all his strength to perform the sword technique and tried his best to block it, but he was still killed in an instant. The strength of the sword technique made him shudder. "Yu Sanjian, who did you meet and was eliminated? Tell me." "Anyway, I went to steal Liu Tong's Jiang seal, but was killed in return. Liu Tong's strength is too terrifying. I met the gun demon Du Gusheng, who was dedicated to protecting Fairyland. TSK. I was also eliminated by the gun demon Du Gusheng. They all went to steal Fairyland's Jiang seal together, but were eliminated by the gun demon Du Gusheng instead. I was affected by Zhang Zifeng's demon killing in the void of the 9 Nether era. He used thousands of Taoist magics, and I accidentally touched the edge and was eliminated. A tall and mighty king with a simple and honest appearance sighed. Everyone looked over with sympathy when they heard this. Zhang Zifeng's Taoist magic was famous, and it was dangerous to get close to him. Their discussions pulled Yu Sanjian out of his thoughts, and when he heard that the tall king was eliminated because of Zhang Zifeng's influence, he couldn't help but smile. "Yu Sanjian, your strength is stronger than ours. Tell me, who did you offend to be eliminated?" A king asked. "Swordsman. I met a swordsman from the Middle Ages and was eliminated." Yu Sanjian said. "Swordsman? I haven't heard of him. The one who practiced the 12-layer heavenly sword technique in the Middle Ages? I heard that his strength is just average, but his soul secret technique is powerful." These kings rarely climbed up from the South Mountain Road. They have never seen Sudang fight with the old man at the second mountain gate, and Sudang didn't burst out his full strength that time. Heard about the swordsman because of the heavenly sword technique. The swordsman's strength is very strong. It's definitely not worse than Liu Tong and Qi Jiuang. I'm afraid that the gun demon Du Gusheng is not his opponent. Yu Sanjian said in a deep voice. What? Haha, this is the biggest joke I have heard in the past 100 years. Is it better than the crazy Liu Tong? Qi Jiuang? Yu Sanjian, you are scared by the swordsman. I have fought with the gun demon Du Gusheng. I don't believe that the swordsman is stronger than Du Gusheng. I don't believe it either. Many kings shook their heads at the same time. He thought that Yu Sanjian was defeated by Su Dong's sword, so he deliberately exaggerated the strength of the swordsman Su Dong in order to save his face. Yu Sanjian looked at the many kings around him with a dim look. Just watch, I dare say, of the 9 mountain and sea seals, one must belong to this swordsman Su Dong. What a joke. The other king sneered. King Yu Sanjian said nothing more and sat aside, closing his eyes and regulating his breath. But he was still recalling that knife in his mind. Su Dong, I believe that with your strength, you are definitely not inferior to that Liu Tong and your swordsmanship. In the past, all the kings who heard about Su Dong heard that he knew the Xian Weishan swordsmanship and was good at the Soul Secret method. It is said that his swordsmanship is much worse than the Soul Secret method. But Yu Sanjian found that Su Dong's soul strength was only a little higher than his. What is really powerful and terrifying is his swordsmanship. It completely crushes him and can easily kill him. This is in Shanhei Peak. The Dao Mansion protects him from death. If he were in the outside world, he would really die. This swordsman is hiding very deeply. No king noticed him before. I'm afraid many kings will suffer. If he had known that Su Dong was so powerful, he would not have taken the initiative to provoke him, even if he had 100 courage. Su Dong was traveling in Shanhei Peak. He went to the deep mountains and old forests where the big monsters gathered, looking for traces of the big monsters, hoping to find a Shanhei seal. With his strength, he could survive, even if he encountered a top-level monster beast of the Divine Emperor Immortal Emperor level. This is the confidence of strong strength. Of course, in this adventure, Su Dong also saw many truly terrifying monster beasts. For example, the terrifying black and white black snake lurking in a cave. The snake head is like a dragon, and the huge body spreads over 100 feet. As soon as his soul touched it, he felt the soul sea tremble, which was enough to be at the top level of the Divine Emperor Immortal Emperor. He took advantage of the fact that the terrifying beast did not react and withdrew. Encountering a monster beast of this level, he could not contend with it alone. There is also a terrifying rhino in a sea of thunder, and a huge, terrifying crocodile as big as a hill crawling in a swamp. Su Dong would not take the initiative to provoke powerful monsters. In the void observation seat, most of the gods and immortals were whispering, while others were shouting excitedly. They watched the battle, and each audience could choose. For example, if they wanted to watch a certain king, the picture would naturally turn to that king. If they wanted to see the whole picture, they would naturally see the whole Shanhei Peak. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. The strong men who watch the Jade Mirror in the Heavenly Palace, such as the Lord of Pan's Hang Mountain and the Lord of the Mansion, naturally looked at the whole picture. And the void observation seat, most of the people they watched were the kings they paid attention to. In the Middle Ages, the void observation seat paid more attention to Qi Jiuang, followed by Zhao Zu, and finally Yang Ning. As for the swordsman Su Dong, he had long been forgotten. In a blink of an eye, more than 20 days had passed. The mountain and sea seal has not yet been born, and some river seals have already recognized their masters and no longer emit dim light, so they will not attract strong men to besiege them. Of course, before the end of the king's decisive battle, the river seal will still be snatched by each other. In more than 20 days, only 51 of the 462 kings were eliminated, and this also counts those who were eliminated because they mistakenly entered the terrifying monster area in the mountain and sea peak. It can be seen that the fighting between the kings is not very tragic. After all, the mountain and sea seal has not yet been born, and only 4 river seals have been born. It can't cause any fighting at all. And the 21st day. On this day, Qi Jiuang, the void sword god of the Middle Ages, killed the great monster bronze ape in a group of mountains again, after killing the great monster water tiger of the river. After a fight, the cliff broke, and Qi Jiuang was even injured. The blood of the gods was scattered, and after killing the bronze ape, He was sucked into the valley by a strange swallowing and suction force. The valley was blocked by fog, the picture could not be projected, and life and death were unknown. The Middle Ages were boiling. The most dazzling Qi Jiuyang also seemed to have met with an unexpected accident. First it was the swordsman Sudong, and then it was the sword god Qi Jiuyang. Both of them also made the powerful people in the void see the horror of Shanhei Peak. The swordsman Sudong was eliminated, the sword god Qi Jiuyang's whereabouts are unknown, and only the goddess Zhaozu and the silver knife world god Yangning are left. Many gods and immortals in the void of the Middle Ages sighed. Their mood can be said to have fallen to the bottom. Of course, there are also fanatical supporters of the sword god Qi Jiuyang waiting for his return. After all, the powerful world god will not be killed by the fall. What else is there under the misty valley? How can there be a strange swallowing power? Why Qi Jiuyang has not reappeared yet? On the 23rd day, the silver knife world god Yangning and the goddess Zhaozu unexpectedly met. The two broke into a fire monkey forest together. Accidentally found two river seals. This is the first time that two river seals have appeared at the same time. And they were obtained by the silver knife world god Yangning and the goddess Zhaozu at the same time. The void of the Middle Ages was boiling. Many powerful people in Shanhei Peak were also shocked. Two river seals? Chase. Rob. Hundreds of kings swarmed in from all directions at the same time. Not good. The king of the nine nether era void, Zhang Zifeng, is actually going to help the goddess of clear sky to snatch the river seal. The audience in the Middle Ages void exclaimed. Some people saw that Zhang Zifeng had reached some kind of deal with the goddess and was on his way to snatch the river seals from Zhaozu and Yangning. This scene made many viewers stand up and beat their chests. Is it that God wants to kill him, the king of the Middle Ages? Let the kings of the void of their era be wiped out. 25 days have passed in Shanhei Peak. Sudong is sitting on the head of a huge golden tiger king's corpse, like a black dot sitting on a hill. Next to him is a beautiful lake, and the lake is still blooming with fragrant fairy lotuses. Chapter 433, Silver Knife's Luck and Misfortune. The fragrance of the fairy lotus was fragrant, and Sudong felt peaceful when he smelled it. He had been wandering in Shanhei Peak for 25 days. He had killed many powerful monsters, but he had not seen the Shanhei seal, let alone the Jiang seal. Shanhei Peak is as vast as the world. In such a large world, looking for 20 seals is really like looking for a needle in a haystack. Sudong said secretly. But it's still early now. As time goes by, the 20 seals will eventually emerge. 2 Jiang seals appeared a few days ago. When the Jiang seal appeared, the faint light penetrated the world. No matter where you are in Shanhei Peak, you can see the location of the faint light. Even if you hide deep underground, the faint light can still penetrate the ground and shine into the sky. It is activated once every 24 hours, which means that the king will fight for it. 2 Jiang seals appeared at the same time. Sudong was surprised, and at the same time, he was secretly happy. The later it is, the greater the probability of 20 seals appearing. 5 Jiangyans have appeared now. There are only 6 left, and the 9 Shanhei seals have not been found once. No matter how big Shanhei Peak is, it will eventually be found under the search of many kings. And Sudong has a hunch that this Shanhei seal should be revealed. Sudong's expression suddenly moved. Buzz. 2 faint lights in the sky faintly penetrated the sky and earth and appeared in the mountains and forests. The faint light was reflected in Sudong's eyes very clearly. The king who got 2 Jiang seals is actually near me. Let's go and take a look. Sudong stood up. Immediately, the black robe flashed, and he turned into a stream of light and flew away from the lake, rushing quickly in the direction of the faint light. In Shanhei Peak, there are towering mountains and ridges, surrounded by mist and haze. Flying in the sky will affect even the sight. Sudong walked through the mountains and forests, black light flashing, and the void escape technique left one phantom after another between the giant trees. Finally, his figure appeared on a cliff, standing on the cliff and looking forward. The 2 river seals glowed like bright lights in the dark night, very eye-catching. There was a waterfall in the valley below the cliff. The waterfall was rushing, the sound was rumbling, and on the edge of the waterfall there were 2 figures being besieged by 6 kings. The war broke out. The power shook the sky. Sudong looked at it, and his eyes lit up. It's them. In the void viewing seats, the strong men of the void in the Middle Ages stared at the scene in front of them with wide eyes. Since the Silver Knife Realm god Yangning and the goddess Zhaozu got 2 river seals at the same time, the entire viewing seat has been firmly locked on their figures. One battle after another is even more exciting, but fortunately, the Silver Knife Realm god Yangning and the goddess Zhaozu both have strong strength and are good at speed. The goddess Zhaozu's purple fire condensed into a fire phoenix, and the fire phoenix flew, and its speed was not inferior to the Silver Knife god at all. But there are still dangers everywhere. Goddess Zhaozu, hold on, you must hold on. Silver Knife Realm God, you are the pride of our Jiuhua mountain. You are blessed by chance. This is the second time you have obtained the river seal. You must keep it. The disciples of Jiuhua mountain were completely excited. The Silver Knife Realm God was too lucky. He got 2 river seals. Someone like Sudong had been searching for almost half a month without any results. But the Silver Knife Realm God got 2. He was too lucky. But the first time it was robbed by Du Gusheng. This time, oh no, it's Qi Yun cultivator from the void of the Kangya era. They actually teamed up with the other 5 kings to set a trap. Suddenly, the void was boiling. The Silver Knife Realm God and the goddess Zhaozu were in a desperate situation. It's over. Zhang Zifeng hasn't arrived yet. I'm afraid the river seal will change hands. But no matter how anxious they were, it couldn't affect the kings of Shanhei Peak. Not to mention that their anxiety made the audience of the void of the Kangya era even more excited and happy. Haha, my Qian Peak Saint has taken action, and his Xiaoyao divine art is superb. Look, the king who used the silver knife can't stand it. The female king is extraordinary. She has cultivated her fire method to this level, and aroused the origin of the way of death. A strong man in the void of the Kangya era laughed heartily. Seeing that the king of the void of his own era was about to strengthen a river seal, he was of course excited and happy. That was Zhaozu in the Middle Ages. There was a top king in the Middle Ages in the Shanhei Peak. I know, isn't it Qi Jiuyang? Qi Jiuyang is powerful. It's easy for him to kill the river monster Shuhu, but he has fallen into the abyss at this moment, and his life and death are uncertain. Maybe he has been eliminated. The strong man was extremely confident and laughed. No one can help them this time. I heard that there was another strong man in the Middle Ages. Someone reminded. Strong? How can there be so many strong men? The kings have been fighting for so long, and the strongest ones have emerged. The others don't need to be cared about. The strong man shook his head. Inside Shanhei Peak, 6 kings besieged 2 kings at the edge of the waterfall. Among the 6 kings, a handsome king with white hair was the leader. He held a whisk in one hand. In the other hand, he held a fairy sword, which looked ethereal and otherworldly. It was the Qian monk from the Kangya Void era. Although he was already a powerful world immortal, this Qian monk was very low-key and gentle. He practiced the Taoist Xiaoyao divine art, called himself a monk, and had many friends around him. The 5 kings beside him were not much different from him in strength, but they took the initiative to join forces with him to fight for the river seal. The 6 kings joined forces to besiege the 2 kings. Boom. A black stick shadow lit up at the edge of the waterfall. A long black stick stirred up vast power, which was extremely condensed and powerful, and stabbed the face of the Silver Knife World God. A horizontal sword shocked the sky and attacked the goddess Zhaozu madly. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. 3 other world immortals used their unique world immortal domains, turning into golden threads that covered the entire battle. They affected Zhaozu and Silverblade God all the time. They also used various magical arts. The 5 kings joined forces, and their power was terrifying. Not to mention the even more terrifying Qi Yun monk. I must get the river seal. The 6 of us have agreed to try to get as many river seals as possible. Bring me both of your river seals. Qi Yun monk's face was cold, and he growled at the corner of his mouth, and stabbed out with the immortal sword in his hand. Swish, swish, swish. Sword lights like meteors burst out in an instant, and each sword light turned into a real immortal sword. The immortal sword hummed and shook the valley with unparalleled power. At the same time, he waved his whisk. Boom, boom. Suddenly, an extremely terrible cold wind appeared in the entire valley, and the waterfall was frozen by the cold wind, turning into extremely sharp ice slag that flooded the 2 people. Qiyun Monk is a 9-crown king. He is extremely powerful. Xiaoyao Divine Art is a first-class divine art. This time, he will fully unleash his strength to take down the river seal in one fell swoop. Under their siege, the silver knife god sword light turned into a silver storm, and his sword light was erratic. His figure was also erratic, as if he had turned into a ghost wandering in the space, trying his best to resist. Goddess Xiaozu used all her strength to drive purple flames. The purple flames wrapped around her and turned into a strange purple flame-shaped fire phoenix. The fire phoenix spread its wings and floated with great power. Last time I met Du Gusheng, I was forced to throw away the river seal. This time I was besieged by the 6 kings again. The silver knife world god glared. It's so unlucky. Why is it so difficult to defend the river seal? We can't bear it anymore. We are ready to throw away the river seal. As long as we are not eliminated, there is still a chance. Goddess Xiaozu's face was cold, and she sent a message to the silver knife world god. You 6 kings besieged the 2 of us? Are you shameless? Silver knife realm god growled unwillingly. Besieging you is shameless? Haha, they can't stand it anymore. Kill them. What's the point of having shame? A short king stared at Xiaozu with a sharp sneer. The river seal is mine. Qiyun cultivator's face was almost crazy. Silver knife and Xiaozu have to help them. Sudan narrowed his eyes slightly. It turned out that Xiaozu and silver knife realm god got the 2 river seals. What a coincidence. Fellow villagers meet. Whoosh. His figure turned into a dark stream of light, like a black lightning, and instantly rushed downwards. The second update will be later. Chapter 434, Sword Technique Tearing the Free and Easy Divine Art. Goddess Xiaozu was about to give up. The other 5 of the 6 kings besieging them were not bad, but the most difficult one was the monk Qiyun. This monk Qiyun is extraordinary. He used the way of cold wind to touch the way of death. The power of his Taoism is at the level of the immortal emperor, especially when he waved his whisk. The cold air surged, and thousands of miles were frozen, which just restrained my fire method. Xiaozu, the strongest goddess of the ancient divine fire country, was different from the thunder fire celestial immortal who practiced both thunder and fire. Xiaozu only practiced fire. She mastered extremely high power at a young age. From childhood to adulthood, she was the strongest all the way, suppressing many geniuses of the ancient divine fire country, until now she became a king of the Huanquandao mansion. In the past, she always thought she was the strongest. But in the Huanquan Road ranking battle, first, she was defeated by Qijiuang, who was a demon and an alien. She lost without any chance to fight back. Then she was defeated by Sudan. 2 defeats and 2 battles were a huge blow, but she was not discouraged. She was still full of confidence in the king's battle, but she realized that everyone who could appear at Shanhei Peak was a top genius who amazed the world. There was no weak one. They were all strong. The only difference was the strong and the stronger. I'm not willing to give up. Just after getting the river seal, Xiaozu gritted her teeth. One-on-one, she was not afraid of anyone, and she was willing to lose, but she was besieged, but there was nothing she could do. This was the rule of the king's battle. If she wanted to blame someone, she should blame her own lack of strength. Boom. A large area of cold wind condensed into a terrible ice storm. The storm roared like a beast, extremely violent, and hit Xiaozu's purple fire phoenix again and again. The purple fire phoenix struggled in it, and she had to distract herself to resist the attacks of other kings. If it weren't for the silver knife realm god with her, she would have been defeated long ago. But the defeat was already done, and she couldn't hold on for much longer. Throw it away. Recognize the river seal. If you are eliminated, you are done. Xiaozu was desperate. A large seal with river patterns carved on all 4 sides emerged from her white jade-like palm. The seal was emitting a faint black light, as if it contained a terrible and huge power. Although the silver knife realm god was unwilling, he also took out the river seal. As soon as the 2 river seals appeared, the eyes of the 6 kings including the Qian monk were all bright. That's mine. The eyes of the Qian monk burst into a crazy light. He was usually gentle and elegant, but once the life and death battle began, he was extremely crazy. He was different from Sudan. Sudan was a touch body that was influenced by Buddhism. His temperament could naturally reach a very calm level, while he was gentle, polite. It was just that in the battle, This personality changed, as if he had become another person, very scary and crazy. Just like seeing the river seal at this moment. He rushed over directly. At this moment. Swish. A dark knife light swooped down instantly. The incomparable and terrifying power suddenly erupted, cutting through the entire sky. The 6 kings including the Qian monk all exuded the realm of the world god. In an instant, they felt the terrifying sword intent that soared into the sky. They all looked up and saw the black-robed young man swooping down. The black-robed young man had a calm look in his eyes, but the calmness contained a chilling sword light. The Silver Knife World God and Zhao Zu also looked up. Swordsman. The Silver Knife World God Yang Ning's eyes widened instantly. Sudong, Zhao Zu's face, which had always been cold, couldn't help but show a surprised smile. They were all ready to give up the river seal in their hands, but there was a ray of hope. Sudong actually appeared at this time. How could they not be surprised? Sudong swooped down with force. It was like a pitch black sky sword falling from the sky. Although it was just a figure falling, in the eyes of the 6 kings including the Qian monk, it was like a peerless fierce sword emitting terrible power. Are you here to steal the river seal? Just one person. Stop him. The 5 kings attacked instantly. Various Taoist magics were displayed, and they violently bombarded Sudong who was falling from the sky. Boom boom boom. The 5 kings attacked together, and the brilliant Taoist light covered the entire sky. It was a terrifying attack that gathered the power of the 5 kings. It was probably no less powerful than Qi Jiuyang's sword, but this power was much more dispersed. They were even less compatible with each other. Break. Sudong shouted coldly. His palm turned into a knife, and a dark knife light drew along the edge of his palm. The extremely dark knife light gathered terrible death energy. The 5th level of Xian Wei Xian Dao Fa, extinction turned into a knife. Boom. The dark knife light seemed to fall from the 9 heavens star river. The deep and dark knife light gathered boundless death energy and cut through the sky. The extremely terrifying sword light instantly defeated all kinds of Taoist power and fell on the heads of the 5 kings. The 12-layer heaven sword technique is famous for its terrifying power, shocking all ages in the void. Sudong even used the body of a world god to perform the 5th level of extinction sword. With one sword, he exterminated everything without mercy. The great power and heavy killing made the 5 kings look terrified on the spot. This sword. Hide. Too fast. Can't dodge. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. They didn't react at all. The sword light had already cut through their divine bodies. The 5 kings only felt severe pain in their divine bodies, and then their eyes went black. They turned directly into a yellow particle stream and disappeared in Shanhei Peak. When they reappeared, they were already on Siphon Peak. Everyone looked terrified and looked at each other, as if they were still immersed in the previous sword. 6 kings, killed 5 in an instant. Only Monk Qi-yun had just escaped the calamity, because he had not been hit by the knife. He looked at it in horror, and felt that his whole mind was roaring. The 5 great kings, even if they are not as strong as me, they are not far behind. One knife will kill them. Monk Qi-yun was shocked. Can I withstand that knife? But he didn't have time to be surprised. Because Sudong fell, his palm had already swung out again, and the same knife light came towards him. Who is he? Such a strong strength. Such a terrible knife method? I must block it. Monk Qi-yun roared in his heart, and his gentle and elegant face suddenly became ferocious. He waved the whisk in his hand, and thousands of silver silk threads entangled and connected to form layers of barriers in front of him. At the same time, the immortal sword crossed the sky, transformed into thousands of sword shadows mixed in the whisk to block. Seeing that 5 companions were eliminated by a knife, how could he dare to neglect it? Go all out to resist. Boom. The dark and deep blade light gathered death energy with the light of extinction. For a moment, one could faintly see strange runes reflected in the cross-section of the blade light, similar to tadpole characters, as if countless lives were annihilating and dying. The blade of extinction, the 5th level of the Xian Wei Xian sword technique, the blade that truly evolved the outline of the origin of the way of death. Thousands of whisk silk threads were cut by the blade, and Monk Qi-yun tried his best to resist the blade, and the immortal swords were chopped into pieces by the blade light. No. Xiaoyao divine art. Monk Qi-yun's eyes were bloodshot, and a mouthful of blood spit out from the corner of his mouth. The divine blood crossed the sky, and the forbidden technique was activated. Immortal sword phantoms bloomed around him, and the immortal sword phantoms weaved into a huge Takai diagram in the air to resist the blade. But the blade light cut through the Takai diagram, and then instantly penetrated Monk Ki-yun's divine body. Boom. Monk Ki-yun directly turned into a particle stream, and disappeared in Shanhei Peak. At the moment of disappearance, his eyes were still wide open, full of disbelief. He actually lost like this? He couldn't even withstand a single blow. He was also a 9-crown king in the Kangaya Void era. He also possessed the Taoist Zioyao divine art, but he couldn't even withstand a single blow. It was clearly to snatch the river seal. Why did he kill me? Ki-yun Monk didn't understand. At this moment, the entire medieval era Void spectator booth was silent. Chapter 435 Sudang returns with strength. Too fast. From the moment Sudang appeared, he exploded and killed 6 kings in a flash. Originally in the Void observation seat, the strong men of the Middle Ages Void era were all anxious and helpless. The Silver Blade Realm God and the goddess Zaozu can't hold on any longer, and they have to throw away the river seal. Suddenly, a black-robed figure appeared. As soon as he appeared, he killed the 6 kings with overwhelming force. Wherever the sword light passed, it was invincible and unstoppable. After seeing the appearance of the black-robed figure clearly, he was completely breathless and shocked. It's the swordsman. It's the swordsman Sudang. The swordsman has not been eliminated yet. After the silence, there was boiling excitement and unparalleled shouts, which instantly resounded throughout the Void observation seat. The king of the 9 realms ancient country was even more excited and excited. He laughed heartily. Good. He said 3 good words in a row. I knew that Sudang was a man of great fortune, and would not fall so easily. The king is wise. The boffin immortal emperor beside him was also full of smiles. Sudang was not only not eliminated, but also extremely powerful. Judging from the power he displayed, he was at the level of the divine emperor immortal emperor. At the level of the realm god, bursting with the power of the divine emperor immortal emperor. This is the strength of the king of Huangquan. It is on par with them. Swordsman Sudang returned from the ancient corpse cave and showed amazing combat power. The 9 realms ancient country was boiling with excitement. In the Void viewing seats of the Kangya era, everyone stared with wide eyes full of disbelief. They all saw the picture in front of them. In the space of the mountain and sea peak, the black-robed young king used only 1 sword from the time he appeared to the time he killed the Qian monk. Humph. Some strong men got up and left angrily. Extremely angry. In the heavenly palace on the top of Mount Buzhao, the Lord of Pan's Hang Mountain at the top smiled, and the expression of Master Wang also changed slightly. They looked at the overall situation and naturally took into account the many kings of Shanhei Peak. We found the right place. It seems that the first Shanhei seal is about to be born. 9 Shanhei seals will surely cause fierce competition. All the clergymen looked at the scenes in the Jade Mirror, and suddenly, is that the swordsman who fell into the ancient corpse cave? He was not eliminated. Everyone noticed the battle in a small corner of the Jade Mirror, which brought together 9 kings. The black-robed young man appeared out of thin air, and he eliminated 6 kings with 2 sword lights by turning his palm into a sword. For these clergymen, they had served in Huangquan for a long time, and they had seen all kinds of genius kings. His explosive strength was acceptable, but it was the first time they saw someone who could come out of the ancient corpse cave. Master, isn't that the little guy you're optimistic about? His strength has exploded. He's really strong. No wonder you're optimistic about him. I was wondering how you could make a mistake with your vision. That's not what you said before. It's a different time now. Look at the swordsman's swordsmanship. It's the 5th level of the heavenly swordsmanship. It's amazing that the realm god can master the 5th level of this swordsmanship, and it doesn't seem to be his limit. It seems that the Lord of Pan's Hang Mountain also participated in the creation of the heavenly swordsmanship. The clergy immediately knew what was going on. The master smiled, looking at the scene of Shanhei Peak in the Jade Mirror. In Shanhei Peak, the most dazzling one in their medieval era was Qi Jiuang, and the luckiest ones were Silver Sword Realm God and Zaozu. But at this moment, Qi Jiuang fell into the abyss. The most dazzling one became Sudang. This Sudang has improved a lot in strength. It seems that he has gained a lot in the ancient corpse cave. The lord of the mansion smiled. The ancient corpse cave is a GD comparable to the Zia Samsara cave. Although it is a GD, he has always had confidence in Sudan. In the Middle Ages, the 10 great shurists made a bet. Everyone was optimistic about Kijiwang, but he was optimistic about Sudan. Now Sudan can escape from the ancient corpse cave, which once again proves his own luck. Being dazzling for a while is nothing. It is extraordinary to be invincible and indestructible, and to find a ray of hope in desperate situations. This kind of strong person can survive tenaciously, no matter how many twists and turns he encounters in the process of growth in the future. Now, it broke out. There was a smile in the eyes of the lord of the mansion. Sudan, take a mountain and sea seal and let them see that you are no worse than Kijiwang. He said in his heart. Look. There are also kings who go to snatch the river seal. They are all small fish and shrimps. In the picture of the jade mirror, one can clearly see the figures of kings marching towards the area where Sudan and the other two are. In the Shanhei Peak, swordsman. The silver knife realm god was so excited that his eyes were trembling with excitement when he looked at Sudan. This book has been updated recently in .. Update. He almost threw out the river seal again. Fortunately, Sudan arrived in time. Zhaozu also felt a little dazed, but more of it was naturally joy. The 6 of Qiyun monks have been chasing us all the way here, but the river seal has just triggered a ghost light again. Now there must be a king rushing here. It is not advisable to stay here for long. Goddess Zhaozu quickly calmed down and said, yes, we have to leave quickly. The silver knife realm god also took back the river seal. He was afraid of being hunted down. Leave. With the river seal, you will emit ghost light wherever you go. It's the same wherever you go. Sudan smiled, not in a hurry at all. Zhaozu and the silver knife realm god couldn't help but look at each other. This king's decisive battle, the river seal and the mountain and sea seal are just a trigger. Huang Deofu is to let them fight. Just wait here and see how many kings can be attracted. Sudan said with a smile, and then walked to the waterfall next to him. The waterfall was rushing, like a river pouring down from the sky, with a magnificent momentum. Seeing Sudan so confident, the silver knife realm god and Zhaozu calmed down instead. The swordsman's strength has become stronger. Zhaozu looked at Sudan in the distance and thought to herself. In the sky several small worlds away from this place, 2 figures, a man and a woman, were flying and shuttling quickly. Their divine bodies turned into streams of light, and any king who saw them from afar would avoid them. The man was dressed in purple, and although his face was handsome, it was covered with purple Dao patterns, while the woman next to him was dressed in white, with white clothes fluttering, and her figure was graceful and beautiful. It was Zhang Zifeng, the king of the void in the 9 Nether Age, and Jikela, the goddess of the clear sky. Zhang Zifeng was covered in purple light, and the aura of various Taoist magics shone on him. His strength could rank among the top 10 of the 400 kings. He was also one of the first 6 kings to climb the Sifeng Peak, so his reputation was extremely loud among the 462 kings. Where is the river seal? The 2 river seals are together and have never been separated. Zhang Zifeng chuckled. These 2 kings should have traveled together. They are really lucky to get 2 river seals at the same time. Their luck has ended after meeting you. The goddess of the clear sky chuckled. Zhang Zifeng smiled confidently and said nothing more. In the decisive battle between the kings, he was only worried about Liu Tong, Qi Huayang and Beifan. The first 2 made him feel pressured, and the latter made him unable to see through, and he felt that they were equally unfathomable. As for the goddess Yuling and Pengyu, he didn't take them seriously at all. His goal was the mountain and sea seal. If the goddess of the clear sky hadn't offered enough chips to make him excited, he wouldn't have made a move for the river seal and come here to fight for it. Since I have taken action, I will certainly get these 2 river seals. Zhang Zifeng urged the Taoist magic and quickly shuttled through the air. He was proficient in thousands of Taoist magics, many of which were good at flying. He thought the goddess of clear sky was too slow, so he pulled her hand and walked forward. The goddess of clear sky just smiled and did not resist at all. In other areas of Shanhei Peak close to Sudan and the other 2, the figures of kings, either alone or in groups, were approaching here quickly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The kings who were good at speed appeared one after another in all directions of the waterfall area. They hid their bodies and looked down. At a glance, they saw the 3 kings who were waiting calmly below. The mighty aura of the river seal was entwined and gathered on them. The second update will be later. Thank you Zioyeo Langsu Shiangsha for your award. I have supported Danki for a long time. Thank you very much. I wanted to update 3 times, but there are too many things to do, so I can only update twice. Chapter 436. Dark clouds overwhelmed the city. Just as Zhao Zu expected, within half an hour, the kings gathered around the entire waterfall area. Although there were many kings, after seeing the 3 of them waiting there calmly, they did not take action directly, but began to murmur. 3 kings, not those big figures. The river seal is on 2 of the kings. Why is it so calm? Is it a trap? I heard that some kings pretended to be pigs and eat tigers, deliberately set up a large formation, and hunted many kings. As long as enough kings are eliminated, when the mountain and sea seal is born, the competitiveness will be much smaller. After all, ants bite elephants to death. Even the top few kings dare not fall into siege. This is for future planning. The king's decisive battle. The most important thing is who gets the last 20 seals. In the end, all the kings will fight at all costs. It is said that there are powerful kings who have started to unite some weak kings early. The condition is that the strong kings will first help the weak kings get the river seal, and then the kings who get the river seal will help the strong kings get or keep the mountain and sea seal. Or, kill the weak kings one by one, but this is more risky and more likely to fall into danger, and there is no point in killing them randomly. The most important thing is the mountain and sea seal and the river seal. They felt that Sudong and the other 2 below were planning some conspiracy. Many kings were hiding everywhere, and Sudong's soul below was released. His soul was strong and thick. He swept through and quickly found that there were already 16 kings dormant. 2 of them felt his soul sweeping over. The soul sweeping and exploring. Only the soul of the same level or stronger can be detected. If the soul is too weak, it can't be felt. I have an abnormal bloodline, and I'm born good at the secret method of soul. Even the secret method of my innate secret method is a soul impact. His soul is so strong. In the forest, a young world immortal wearing a square scarf and a short thorn on his waist changed his expression. He was a congenital creature who had the opportunity to transform his bloodline, and was qualified to challenge the level of divine emperor and immortal emperor. He was most proud of his soul secret method. Just now, when Sudong's soul probe swept over, he instantly discovered it. His soul was strong, and not inferior to his. In other words, in the battle, the soul secret method he was most proficient in would play a small role, which made him more cautious. 3 kings, all strangers. There may be a trap, but they may also be pretending to be calm. A group of kings were waiting, and those who were in groups even communicated with each other. But no one acted rashly. In a blink of an eye, half a day had passed, and the number of kings hiding around had reached more than 100. It was just that when there were few people, no one took action. When there were more people, these kings were also afraid of each other, and they would not act easily. After all, even if they took the river seal, they would have to survive for half a month. Without full confidence, who would dare to act? If you can't get it, it's fine. If you get it, you will be the target of public criticism. The Silver Knife Realm God stood there, feeling a wave of invisible pressure looming down. There were too many kings gathered here, and so many kings were staring at them. This was no longer peeping, it was blatant scrutiny and speculation. The invisible momentum was like a storm gathering, like dark clouds pressing down on a city, making the Silver Knife Realm God feel that his breathing was a little heavy. He only felt a little relieved when he saw Sudong next to him, who still had a calm face. Zhao Zu, how many kings are around now? The Silver Knife Realm God whispered. You can't explore it yourself? Zhao Zu replied. I'm a realm god, not good at the soul. The soul was released and pressed back before it could be explored. You are a realm immortal, and your soul is strong. Zhao Zu's eyes were like snow, and she glanced at him. My soul can detect about 117 people. 117. With your soul attainments, there are not many who are better than you. There are probably about 120 kings, and there are only a few who entered Shanhei Peak. How many of them are gathered here? The body of the Silver Knife Realm God trembled. Imagine what it would be like if more than 120 kings attacked him. I'm afraid they would be blasted into ashes in an instant by the violent power of the magic of Taoism. This is too terrible. I can't wait any longer. I'm also a 9-crown king. I'm good at body movement and speed, and the power of Taoism is also very strong. I will directly take the river seal and turn around and flee. Finally, a king couldn't bear it anymore. Do it. If you don't do it, the river seal will activate the dim light again and attract more kings. Next to the waterfall, Sudong shook his long sleeves and a long sword fell into his hand. He held the long sword, which was just an ordinary realm god level weapon. Although it was very ordinary at the realm god level, the power emanating from the sword alone could easily kill an ordinary void god and heavenly immortal. If it fell into a small world, the power of the sword itself could tear the earth apart and wipe out all living things. The sword itself is a weapon of attack. It's almost time. These kings can't hold it anymore. Sudong thought to himself. Huh. Sudong raised his head suddenly. From the distant mountains, a magnificent soul power like a tsunami rushed down. It was obviously an invisible soul power, but it made the surrounding mountains tremble, and the waterfalls twisted and broken. Immediately afterwards, 9 streams of light suddenly swooped down from the mountain peak. 9 streams of light burst out from 9 directions. The world shook in an instant. The violent power with endless killing intent emerged one after another. When the soul impact came, Sudong's figure moved and appeared directly above the heads of the Silver Knife Realm God and the goddess Zhaozu. The dragon elephant Kun divine bell was activated, and the majestic 3-headed beast surrounded a golden bell and emerged in the Sea of Souls. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. Stop it. Boom. The fierce soul power like a tsunami slammed into the golden bell. The 3 beasts roared. The dragon swung its tail. The giant elephant collapsed. And the divine rock wanted to pierce the sky, instantly defeating the soul power. The king wearing a square scarf above turned pale. A look of horror appeared on his cheeks. And then a mouthful of blood gushed out of his mouth. What a powerful soul secret method. He turned around and left without stopping. This is not a good place, and he can't stay for long. And Sudong didn't pay attention to him. When the 9 kings launched the attack at the same time, Sudong's swordsmanship also broke out. I'm not greedy. My goal is a river seal. I'll leave if I get one. The strongest of these 3 is the black-robed king. Kill him first. Deal with the strongest first. Catch the king first. Among the 9 kings, only 1 went to the Silver Knife Realm God, and the other 8 attacked Sudong at the same time. There is only 1 king. No matter how strong he is, he can't be the opponent of so many kings like us. Kill him. The 8 kings thought so in their hearts. There is a distance of tens of thousands of feet from the mountain to the bottom of the valley, where the waterfall falls, but for them, this distance is too short, and they can attack in an instant. When their attack arrived, Sudong's swordsmanship also unfolded. There are too many kings lurking at the scene. I must establish my authority. Only by directly shocking these kings can we solve the problem once and for all. Completely cut off their thoughts of snatching the river seal. Just this one strike. Use the first king to establish prestige. Extreme mode. Extinction strike. Break. Swish. With a wave of the long sword, Sudong's figure soared into the sky and took the initiative to meet the 8 kings. The terrifying power of the sword technique exploded. It was the first time since returning from the Zia Samsara cave. The extreme mode stimulated the divine blood and burned the divine power to the extreme. The power increased tenfold. The 5th level of the Cheyenne Waitian sword technique itself touched the outline of the origin of the Way of Death, and the power was close to the level of the Divine Emperor. In addition, the power of the extreme mode increased tenfold. I saw a dark sword light surrounded by obscure death, which instantly penetrated the 8 kings and directly cut open the divine bodies of the 8 kings. With one strike, the world trembled in an instant. With one strike, the sun and the moon were dark in an instant. Chapter 437. Looking down upon all kings. What? The 8 kings frantically used their skills to dodge Sudong's sword, but the sword was too fast. They couldn't dodge it and began to switch from attack to defense. However, the sword directly cut through their divine bodies. The 8 kings were completely stunned. This sword. It's over. I'm done. The power of the Divine Emperor. Sudong's sword skills exploded, plus the extreme mode amplification. You should know that when he broke into the wooden man alley, he didn't even use the extreme mode. Now that he used it, the power skyrocketed. Originally, these 8 kings dared to take the lead, and their strength was naturally very strong among many kings, but Sudang's sword was the 5th level of the 12-layered heavenly sword skills. He burst out with all his strength, catching the 8 kings off guard and instantly crushing them. 8 kings, instantly eliminated. Another king who attacked Zazu obviously underestimated this cold-faced fairy. A burst of purple flames condensed into a raging sea of fire, instantly drowning and eliminating her. The kings were shocked. What a terrifying swordsmanship. What kind of strength is that sword? Who is this black-robed king, so powerful? The many kings hiding in the dark were stunned. Such a terrifying king should have attracted attention on the 4-sided peak. I know him. I met him once at the south gate of Buzzhow Mountain. He is a swordsman from the void in the Middle Ages. It is said that this swordsman is good at the secret method of soul. I saw him use the secret method of soul at the south gate and knock down the gatekeeper. Later, I didn't pay attention to him when I passed the second gate in the first group. Swordsman Sudang? He is good at the secret method of soul, but his swordsmanship is so strong. Many kings were shocked, and their faces changed. But there were still more kings who were still watching coldly. Even if this swordsman is powerful, how can he defeat all of us at the same time as a king with such swagger? Yes, no matter how powerful he is only one person. The silver sword white-robed king is just average. The fairy king is only so strong. This is a decisive battle between kings. Our goals are the river seal and the mountain and sea seal. I dare not think about the mountain and sea seal, but how can we watch the river seal slip away from us? Many kings were secretly gathering their strength. This swordsman burst out with his sword to establish his authority. If he really succeeds, they will leave, and who dares to stop him? Go. Dozens of kings moved almost at the same time. They rushed out from all directions. In their hearts, the mountain and sea seal was hopeless. They were here at Shanhei Peak, just for the river seal. The river seal was right in front of them. If they were frightened by so many kings besieging them at the same time, they would not have to venture into Shanhei Peak anymore. Very good. Sudang's eyes flashed with a sharp light. Swish. Sudang also moved. His figure turned into a series of phantoms in the air. Although his void escape technique was not very sophisticated, Sudang's momentum was unparalleled. He didn't want to dodge at all. He attacked frantically and rushed directly towards the dozens of kings with great swiftness. At the same time, he swung his sword. The dozens of kings who rushed over had been prepared this time. Each of them activated the body protection method and carefully avoided Sudang's sword light. Moreover, the magic skills they were good at were long-range attacks. One after another, brilliant immortal swords, long shuttles, flying needles, and EPP stabbed at Sudang. The Buddha Kingdom in the palm. Sudang waved his palm. In the palm of his hand, a magnificent golden palace was reflected. The dozens of kings who besieged him only saw a huge palm print with the golden Buddha Kingdom rising into the sky, and then they easily pushed and crushed their various Taoist magics. Rumble. The power of the huge golden palm print was vast and majestic, completely shattering the entire valley, and the waterfall suddenly burst. A large amount of water flew across the sky, and the power of the Buddha Kingdom in the palm was terrifying to suppress all attacks. The power of the palm print was so strong that the kings were stunned. Countless void masters who were watching this battle in the void viewing seats were stunned. What a terrible swordsman. Not only is his swordsmanship terrifying, but his magic is also terrifying. The power of this palm print is terrifying. He actually blocked the attacks of so many kings with one palm, and the power of the palm print is terrifying. It's the Buddha Kingdom in the palm. I have seen this magic technique before, but it is said that it is extremely difficult to practice. It can only be obtained by chance. In countless void eras, not many people can practice it successfully. Too strong. This swordsman is too strong. With one sword, many kings dared not touch his edge, and with one palm strike, he pushed and crushed all the kings. At this moment, all the kings who were watching this battle, and the strong men of various void eras in the void viewing seats, realized how terrifying the swordsman Sudang was. The swordsman is too strong. Invincible, mighty and domineering. I'm completely fascinated by the swordsman. It would be great if I could let the swordsman be my husband. The goddesses and celestial maidens of the Middle Ages were excited and crazy. This is the king of their Middle Ages. If he doesn't explode, it's fine. Once he explodes, he will look down on many kings of the times. No one can stop him, and he will strike all enemies. Dare to steal our river seal. Sudong's body radiated golden light, and the Buddha kingdom emerged in his palm seal, with the ripples of the sun behind him. His voice sounded like a thunderclap, resounding in the ears of every king present. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Die. Swish. A dark knife light flashed, and it was already approaching the most fierce king. Swordsman, others are afraid of you, but I'm not. Want to keep the 2 river seals? The king was still roaring, but suddenly the scene in front of him went dark. The dark knife light instantly passed through his divine body. The knife light contained the outline of the origin of the way of death. The power comparable to the level of the divine emperor and the immortal emperor burst out in an instant, easily tearing the king's divine body apart, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. When he regained his sight, he was already on the 4-sided peak. Many kings looked at each other. Li Jun, you were also killed by the swordsman? Look at his expression and you can tell that he probably couldn't withstand a single blow. On the 4-sided peak, many kings gathered, and the one they talked about the most at this moment was the swordsman Sudong. Yusanjian, who had been standing silently by the side, looked at them with a sigh in his eyes. This swordsman finally broke out and became famous in one battle. I knew that many kings would be defeated by his sword. His swordsmanship is too terrible. He sighed silently. The kings fought to the death. Strength was respected. The strong would eventually rise, and the weak would be eliminated. Now, the king swordsman has risen, and will be truly famous throughout the Huangquan Daofu and countless void eras. Wow. In the Shanhei Peak, Sudong continued to swing his sword, and killed another king. The floating black sword light around was entangled with the terrible death aura, gathering into a storm. The sword light rose, and the sword light fell. It was extremely powerful, and each sword represented the elimination of a king, and each sword shocked many kings. Haha, Sudong, burst out, and defeat those kings. The Lord of the 9 Realms was already madly excited. He hadn't been so happy for thousands of years. Brother Zhao, that little guy is not bad. The real person Wang in the heavenly palace spoke. His name is Sudong, and his nickname is Swordsman. The Lord of Panzhang Mountain chuckled. The real person Wang nodded gently. The king's decisive battle is like a great wave washing away the sand, and the excellent king will eventually stand out. Sudong, well done. The Lord of the mansion was also very happy. Let's go. There's no chance. I can't get this river seal. That swordsman is too strong. Dozens of kings besieged the swordsman Sudong, but what they encountered was a massacre. Many kings had already retreated secretly. The 2 river seals guarded by the swordsman were not something they could get their hands on. The Silver Knife Realm God and Zhaozu looked at Sudong, who was showing his divine power in the sky, with joy on their faces. The situation was one-sided. Sudong's strength also shocked them. They liked this kind of shock. Get out. Sudong waved his sword and eliminated another king coldly. This was the 64th king who was defeated by his sword today. Swordsman. A terrible purple light instantly descended from the sky, and before the purple light arrived, Sudong's face suddenly changed. Chapter 438. The king bows to the goddess. Along with the purple light came a terrifying lightning flash, which contained sword shadows, knife lights, spears, pistols. In addition, there were runes of various colors that illuminated the sky and tore the sky apart. In an instant, nearly 100 kinds of Taoist magic broke through the air and attacked. Each magic was incredibly fast, and each Taoist magic contained terrifying power, crushing the mountains and rivers. Wherever the purple light passed, the towering mountains were like paper, easily torn apart and destroyed, and the mountains collapsed, and the ground cracked, and countless giant beasts and rare birds fled to avoid them. Boom, boom, boom. The mountains were torn apart and collapsed, and the rushing rivers and waterfalls disappeared completely. The Silver Knife Realm God and Zhaozu fled, and many kings also fled in a hurry. This magic was too powerful, and would be affected inadvertently. There was a king who only saw it from a distance, was affected, and was eliminated in an instant. Hundreds of Taoist magic arts came violently, and Sudang's face changed slightly. What exquisite Taoist magic arts, some of which are almost as good as the Buddha kingdom in the palm, but one force can break all the magic. Suppress it. Sudang roared, and waved the Buddha kingdom palm print in his left palm. The magnificent huge golden palm print pushed across the space. It flew through the air. The Buddha kingdom in the palm is one of the highest magic arts of Buddhism, which contains boundless Buddhist teachings. In the air, the huge golden Buddha kingdom shines brightly. Compared with the previous palm, this palm is more powerful and more majestic. The power of the Buddha kingdom palm print is all gathered in the beautiful Buddha kingdom in the palm, emitting dazzling golden light. The beautiful Buddha light suddenly came down like a kingdom of God, suppressing it. Rumble. The Buddha kingdom in the palm pushed everything across, blocking the torrent of hundreds of Taoist magic arts. The Buddha kingdom in the palm is divided into 3 levels. The entry level is the God King level. Mastering the outline of the origin of the way of death is the level of the God Emperor Immortal Emperor. Going one level further is the level of the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor. The second level is the highest level that Sudang is currently performing, and it is also the most powerful palm. The magnificent and vast golden palm print is like the scorching sun in the sky, shining with endless golden light, and colliding with the hundreds of Taoist magic arts in the air like a torrent, directly hitting head on. Boom. The golden palm print radiates golden light, and the torrent of hundreds of Taoist magic arts is hit horizontally, pushing horizontally. Then the golden palm print Buddha kingdom stands tall, and the torrent of Taoist magic arts hits for a moment, and then naturally dissipates like rootless water. After the dissipation, the earth is full of wandering and devastated, and Sudang frowns, and moves his hand casually. The huge Buddha kingdom in the palm quickly shrinks and gathers in his palm, and the beautiful and exquisite Buddha kingdom is reflected in his palm. But no one dared to underestimate the power of this Buddhist country. Among the 2 figures flying hand in hand in the distance, the man in purple looked at Sudang's palm, and then at his long sword. He frowned slightly. Sudang also looked over. The colorful light of the Taoist magic was lingering and flickering on the body of the young king, rising and falling, and there was a faint Taoist pattern containing death. The young man looked tall and straight, with a handsome face, but the purple Taoist pattern on his cheeks made him look even more evil. At this moment, he was also looking at Sudang. Next to him was a beautiful female god. There was a very strange fragrance on the body of the female god, which made people involuntarily immersed in it. Although the beauty and temperament of this female god was slightly inferior to the goddess Yuling, she had her own charm. Many kings present couldn't help but pay attention to her. Swordsman Sudang, I have heard of you. The crisp and pleasant voice came like smoke. I've heard that you will be a surprise, and will be among the strongest kings. Today, I see that your reputation is well deserved. Sudang stood in the void in a black robe, glanced at the purple-robed king, and then looked at the goddess. Zhang Zifeng, GK. His voice was calm, and resounded through the world. The kings gathered on the Siphon Peak. Zhang Zifeng, the strongest king in the void in the 9 Nether era, had also attracted his attention. The goddess of the clear sky, GK, was a first-class goddess with extraordinary strength and beauty, attracting attention. Before the king's decisive battle began, many kings had made a name for themselves by breaking into the Siphon Mountain Gate, such as Liu Tong, Qi Jiang, Yuling, Zhang Zifeng, etc., all of whom showed extraordinary performance. Although the strength of many goddesses and goddesses was modest, they were also famous. Zhang Zifeng, whose strength was not inferior to Qi Jiang, came from the 9 Nether Void era. He was known to have mastered endless Taoist magic. He often used hundreds of magic at a time, and the scene was spectacular. It's Zhang Zifeng. That torrent of magic just now was sent out by him. It's really scary. That's nothing. Wasn't it blocked by the swordsman? What do you know? That was just a casual move by Zhang Zifeng. You haven't seen Zhang Zifeng's real explosion. It is said that when he was at his strongest, he directly exploded thousands of magic arts. That power is terrible. This swordsman is going to fall. Zhang Zifeng also came to grab the river seal. Isn't it for the goddess of the clear sky? Kings like that will still bow down for the goddess. Many kings in the distance completely gave up the idea of snatching the river seal from the swordsman Sudang's protection. After all, only 5 river seals have been born so far. Only more than 20 days have passed. There are still many opportunities. There is no need to be eliminated here. And the swordsman Sudong is too scary. Even if they join forces, they will not get any good results. He is the real top king this time, and has the qualifications to compete for the mountain and sea seal. Now, only Zhang Zifen can fight him. Let's do it. That swordsman is too arrogant. He dares to defend the river seal so arrogantly. He doesn't even try to hide. He is doomed to suffer. This Zhang Zifen should be able to defeat Sudong. They hid far away, eager to see Sudong and Zhang Zifen fight. Sudong and Zhang Zifen, the goddess of the clear sky, stood in front of each other from a distance. Sudong was extremely calm, and people could not feel the decisiveness and fear of killing when he just burst out. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Zhang Zifeng's face was full of Taoist patterns, and there was an evil aura on his body. Thinking of his reputation, people could not help but feel afraid. What a swordsman. Jikena smiled. It seemed that she admired Sudong very much. Her palm had been pulled out of Zhang Zifeng's hand, and she smiled sweetly, which could be called peerless. Many kings were attracted by her. Yes, I have some strength. Zhang Zifeng, whose face was covered with Taoist lines, snorted coldly. One hand is the heavenly sword technique, and the other hand is the Buddha kingdom in the palm. These two top-notch magic skills are both said to be extremely difficult, and you have mastered them. I have also studied the 12-layer heavenly sword technique, but unfortunately, I don't like using a sword, so I gave up. I have never seen anyone of my generation master this sword technique. Today, I can try the power of this sword technique on you, which is not bad. Let's do it. Sudong's face was calm, and he spoke directly. The king's decisive battle was to let these kings fight each other. It didn't matter whether they fought early or late. What was the point of being long-winded? It's great. Zhang Zifen laughed loudly, and before he finished laughing, he made a move. As long as you can take this move from me, I won't interfere with the river seal today. Wow. Zhang Zifen waved his hand, and a purple silver needle appeared in his hand at some point, and the purple silver needle shot out violently. The speed was amazing. Although it was just a silver needle, it seemed to reflect thousands of strange mysteries. Each mystery is close to the outline of the origin of the way of death. He gathered thousands of Taoist magics into a silver needle. It penetrated the sky and earth. Come on. Sudong shouted, and swung the long sword in his hand violently, and the dark sword light burst out. An extinction sword, extreme mode. The same sword slashed out. The long sword and the silver needle collided. The silver needle was chopped away with one sword, and then the sword light burst out directly in front of Zhang Zifen. What a terrible power. Zhang Zifen was shocked. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 439, Becoming Famous in One Battle. The blade light was floating in the sky and earth, and the cross-section reflected the scene of life and death. Under the extreme burst of Sudong's divine power at the level of the world god, the full power of the extinction sword was released. Instantly, it knocked away the needle shadows condensed by Zhang Zifeng's thousands of Taoist magics, and in the blink of an eye, it chopped in front of the latter. HMPH. After Zhang Zifen was shocked, he snorted coldly. His figure appeared in the void, and he took a step to the side. The mountains and rivers below collapsed, and pieces of shining stars were reflected under him. His body skills were wonderful, and he easily avoided Sudong's sword. In the blink of an eye, the goddess of the clear sky also withdrew from the battle range of the two, and watched the battle intently. After Sudong's sword failed, the blade light condensed, and did not disperse. It actually rotated in the air. The dark blade, like the sickle of the god of death who harvested life, turned again and chopped towards Zhang Zifen. This Sudong's heavenly sword technique has such a terrifying power. Zhang Zifen was shocked. The needle shadow he had previously activated was a combined attack of the power of thousands of Taoist magics, but it was defeated in an instant. The saying one force breaks all magics was fully reflected in the swordsman Sudong. The sword light came again. Zhang Zifeng roared, put his right hand together to form a sword, and a dazzling light appeared on his fingertips. He went straight up with endless power. This finger was also a magic technique that was famous in all ages of the void. It was called the Faceless Tribulation Finger. The powerful light contained the outline of the origin of the Way of Death. When it was pointed out, time and space were shattered, penetrating all obstacles, causing the area where it was located to be filled with wind, fire, thunder and lightning, and then completely annihilated and shattered. Bang! The Faceless Tribulation Finger collided with the Extinction Sword. Zhang Zifeng didn't know how many years he had refined and how many treasures of heaven and earth he had spent on the Tribulation Finger. Even if it was a domineering magic technique that could easily penetrate a small world, at this moment, his fingertips trembled, the light dissipated, and there was a burst of pain, completely suppressed by the power of Sudang's swordsmanship. So powerful? He must have activated some secret method. Zhang Zifeng's face was ugly. He knew very well the power of the various levels of Xian Weishan swordsmanship, and it was impossible for him to be so fierce. Haha, Zhang Zifeng is worthy of being one of the 6 kings. Sudang became more and more crazy as the battle went on. Who among the ordinary kings could go head to head with his sword light? Zhang Zifeng became famous for his Taoist magic, and he was indeed extraordinary. Zhang Zifeng's Taoist magic was exquisite, but Sudang was just one man and one sword. He rushed forward in a black robe and holding a long sword, and the dark and terrifying sword light swung out again to kill. In the sky, the sword light flashed again and again. Every time it flashed, the terrifying power carried by the blade was like a volcanic eruption, easily tearing apart the areas where it was. The power was so terrifying that Zhang Zifeng didn't dare to resist it at all. After all, Xian Weishan swordsmanship was famous for its terrifying power, and with Sudang's extreme mode amplified it tenfold, this power was even more irresistible. Break the 10th heavenly power body. Zhang Zifeng also went berserk. 10 figures appeared in an instant, and all of them suddenly burst out with terrible power. Boom, boom, boom. Each figure used a magical technique to attack Sudang's sword light, and each figure wanted to tear Sudang's sword light apart, but Sudang's sword light was more powerful, and each time it easily shattered his body. Break, break, break. Wherever the sword light passed, it was unstoppable and broke everything. Zhang Zifeng turned pale when the 7th heavenly power body was broken, and quickly dodged with his body skills. He was really good at many magical techniques, and among them, the body skills were endless. The Big Dipper appeared under his feet, and he could easily avoid Sudang's long sword attack. This made Sudang secretly surprised while attacking wildly. Zhang Zifeng's body skills are too high. Every time he moves like the Big Dipper. My sword speed is fast enough, but I can't touch him. His body skills consume very little divine power, but when I'm in extreme mode, my divine power is consumed faster. Swish, swish, swish. Sudang, who was as unstoppable as a god of war, attacked Zhang Zifeng again and again. His sword light was shining across the sky, enough to dominate an era and shock an era. In front of his sword light, no one could stop it, and they could only retreat. Dodge. Zhang Zifeng, who was also stimulated by his body skills, had long lost his previous arrogance. Every time he used his body skills, he barely dodged a sword. Even if he tried to resist, the Taoist magic would be easily torn apart by the sword light, and then chopped towards him again. What a terrible power. Zhang Zifeng was shocked. He finally saw how terrible the Xian Weishan sword method that was famous in the void was. And Sudang also frowned slightly. The power of Zhang Zifeng's Taoist magic is just average. In a head-on confrontation, I can easily suppress him, but in terms of body movement, I'm not as good as him. Sudang also knew his shortcomings. He only had a set of void escape body movement, which was really not enough in this level of battle. He has exquisite body movement, and can easily dodge my knife. If I continue to fight, I will consume a lot of divine power, and suffer a loss. It's not worth it. He doesn't dare to fight me head on. With his Taoist attainments, he can master so many Taoist magics at the same time. His soul must be very strong. I can't take advantage of my soul secrets. Sudang thought to himself. No more fighting. Sudang suddenly put away his knife. His eyes were sharp and looked at Zhang Zifen, who was retreating thousands of miles away. Body movement magic also requires distance to perform, so the distance between the two was very far, and the latter was also looking over in surprise. Many kings were watching around, and there was no telling how many strong people in the void observation seat were paying attention to this battle. After all, Zhang Zifen became famous earlier, and Sudong was suddenly upset. Swordsman Sudong and Zhang Zifen fought. Sudong first used a palm technique from the Buddha kingdom, and then showed an extremely terrifying sword technique. As for Zhang Zifen, he had thousands of attack techniques. The most shocking ones were the Wuxiang Jizi and the 10th heavenly power body. However, both of them could not stop the sharpness of the heavenly sword technique. Then there was the body technique, the Big Dipper star shifting technique, the 7 stars stepping heavenly footsteps, and many more. In short, Sudong was more powerful and domineering. In terms of the complexity of Taoist techniques, the strange and unpredictable body techniques, Zhang Zifen was better. I feel that the swordsman is more powerful. Zhang Zifen doesn't dare to resist at all. Zhang Zifen's body movement skills are one level higher than Sudong's. If he keeps fighting, Sudong will definitely lose. Those who watched this battle were all powerful kings. Naturally, they understood in their hearts that, of course, Zhang Zifen's body movement skills were strong, but it was like walking on a tightrope in the air. It was extremely dangerous. If he was not careful, he might be hit by Sudong's sword. Only a fool would be exhausted by Zhang Zifen. Didn't Sudong stop? This book was recently updated in #@. Update. In the sky, Zhang Zifen looked at the black-robed Sudong standing with a knife in his hand with a serious look. The 12-layered heaven sword skill is indeed well deserved. Swordsman, you are really powerful. Zhang Zifen opened his mouth and said a word. His voice contained divine power and resounded in the ears of countless people. Then he turned and left. The goddess of the clear sky glanced at the river seal in the hands of Zhaozu and the silver knife realm god. Sighing and shaking his head, he immediately flew up and followed. Leave. Zhang Zifen has left, so I'm leaving too. Haha, the kings who got these 2 river seals are protected by the swordsman. I can't take them away, so I'm leaving. Many kings shook their heads and retreated one after another. Even Zhang Zifen was suppressed by the swordsman and retreated. Do they still want a challenge? Swordsman Sudong, from the void in the Middle Ages, a 9-crown king, was said to have a very strong soul secret method in the past. He mastered the swordsmanship of the sky. Now he has become famous in one battle. The power of his swordsmanship is so terrible that he can dominate among many kings. In terms of power, the swordsmanship of the sky has shocked the void for countless eras. Who can be the opponent of that swordsman? The void in the Middle Ages was completely boiling and shocked. Along with the perspectives of many kings, many void eras were shocked. Sudong's power was no less than any of the 6 kings. In one battle, he really became famous in countless void eras. The Lord King of Pan's Hang Mountain and Master Wang in the Buzhao Mountain Heavenly Palace also nodded slightly. Sudong is good. His swordsmanship has reached a certain level. What Zhang Zifen has learned is too diverse. It would be fine if he met others, but he is bound to be suppressed if he meets Sudong. The 2 superiors commented. Chapter 440. The Mountain and Sea Seal finally appears. It's different. Zhang Zifen has a much deeper background than Sudong, and has more resources and inheritance. Just look at his Taoist magic. He has cultivated so many Taoist magic. In addition to his own talent, he has consumed countless resources such as heavenly treasures. The handsome young man Pan's Hangshan Lord King did not think Zhang Zifen was so dazzling. He has learned a lot. There is also a saying that more skills are better than less. If he had learned the essence of one of the 2 Taoist magics, Wuxiang Jizi and 10-fold heavenly power body, his power would not be inferior to Sudong. Practice has a main and a secondary. The strong have practiced for a long time. They have learned hundreds of Taoist magics. Zhang Zifen's magic power is not good, but his body movement magic is amazing. Obviously, he has worked hard in this aspect. The 2 high-ranking Lord Kings watched these little guys fight. Even if the latter performed extraordinary, they were just mediocre in their eyes. What they valued more was potential. Pan's Hangshan Lord was more optimistic about Sudong. Zhang Zifeng. He was born in a very good condition. He read many Taoist magics and spent endless resources. Of course, his starting point was also very high, which can be said to be the end point of many immortals and void gods. He also said that he did not learn the heavenly sword method when it was placed in front of him, just because he did not like to use the sword. Cultivation depends on preference. In the heart of the Lord of Pan's Hang Mountain, Zhang Zifeng was just like that. Master Wang smiled and nodded. He did not pay much attention to the so-called 6 kings. He only cared about the 9 kings who finally got the 9 mountain and sea seals. As for Sudang, the Lord of Pan's Hang Mountain seemed to like it, but he felt that it was just like that. Heavenly sword method? Not very attractive. Their vision was too high. Master Wang kept in mind the words of his senior brother. This time, the Taoist palace was looking for a true peerless evil genius king. This kind of king was what he was paying attention to. Obviously, Sudang was not qualified. Sudang. The gods and immortals who could watch the battle in the entire 9 realms ancient country were boiling. The ruler of the 9 realms even held a state banquet to celebrate. Defeating Zhang Zifeng proved that Sudang would definitely get one of the 9 mountain and sea seals. The ancient kingdom of divine fire and the Jiuhua mountain holy land were also extremely excited. The river seal has been protected. It has been protected. Our ancient kingdom of divine fire will also produce a top king. The power of Huan Kundeofu is too wide and too big. It involves the cycle of life and death, and has stood firm in countless void eras. That silver knife is really lucky. It was taken away again. Li Hoshiangsen was unhappy. They were at the foot of Buzhao Mountain, and their souls could enter the void to watch the battle. When Sudang appeared from the ancient corpse cave, it was not a big impact on them, but when Sudang defeated Zhang Zifeng in one battle, his terrible strength was fully displayed, and the whole void was shaken. He became famous in one battle. Not only the Middle Ages Void Era, but also the 9 Nether Void Era, the Great Light God Killen Void Era, the Sun and Moon Void Era, and many other Void Eras knew about such a king. In fact, they had all heard of such a king, but they didn't expect him to be so powerful. A surprise. All of a sudden, Sudang became the king that countless powerful people talked about, and the popularity increased sharply. This is the king's decisive battle. The weak will eventually be eliminated, and the strong will eventually stand out and shine. This kind of popularity has lasted for a long time. The outside world was boiling, and time passed in Shanhei Peak. In a blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Within half a month, another river seal appeared. However, Sudang and the other 2 did not fight for it. The river seal was first obtained by a 9-crowned king named Fan Zhen. Fan Zhen was also very powerful. He guarded the river seal for 3 days. In the end, Zhang Zifeng and the goddess of the clear sky appeared and took it away. Fan Zhen was also eliminated. Another month passed, and 3 more river seals appeared, causing fierce competition. So far, there are a total of 11 river seals, and 9 have been born. And the mountain and sea seal is still nowhere to be seen. The colorful clouds are floating, and the beautiful fairy dances with the divine birds and rare animals in the pavilions. In the heavenly palace, Master Wang looked at leisure. He raised the wine glass in his hand and drank a sip of the wine floating in the glass. Suddenly, his eyes suddenly looked at the corner of the jade mirror. Even the handsome young man next to him, Panzungshan Lord, looked over. The 2 lords looked at the picture in the jade mirror. The jade mirror reflected an abyss in Shanhei Peak. The abyss was covered with clouds and mist. It seemed that an unfathomable beast was lurking in the clouds and mist. Puff! A rainbow light suddenly penetrated the abyss and mist, and rushed up from the abyss with a hint of blood. When this scene was reflected, the whole void viewing seat burst into a low cry. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. The rainbow light penetrated the sky. It was extremely eye-catching in the entire sky. In the sky above the abyss, a young man in a red tattered robe held a big seal. The rainbow light emitted by the seal and the rainbow light on his body reflected each other, making the clouds and the sky red. The rainbow light was overwhelming. The mountain and sea seal was born. Ah, that's Qi Jiuang. The first mountain and sea seal is in Qi Jiuang's hands. That extraordinary king, who fell into the abyss after killing the monster, now holds the mountain and sea seal in his hand. What makes the void of the Middle Ages shake is Qi Jiuyang's body is trembling at this moment, and there is divine blood flowing from his chest. He is injured, and the injury is not light. The mountain and sea seal was born. The remaining nearly 300 kings in Shanhei Peak were also shaken and boiling, and many kings who were dormant and planning were dispatched. They wanted to compete for the first mountain and sea seal. But almost at the same time, on a cliff on Shanhei Peak, a young man in white was sighing to the sky, and under him was a surging sea of blood, and the sea of blood was rolling. There was a terrifying monster lurking in the sea, greedily watching the young man on the cliff. Suddenly, a huge dragon snake head emerged from the surging sea of blood, and a bloodthirsty and fierce aura spread. A low and powerful roar resounded over the entire sea of blood, with a strong and bloody wind, blowing the sea of blood rolling, the trees on the cliff dancing wildly, and the rocks flying. There was a tragic atmosphere in this roar. In an instant, the sky was filled with rain, and the earth was shaking. The behemoth in the sea of blood appeared, and the huge dragon snake head was just the tip of the iceberg of its terrifying body. It rose from the sea of blood, standing in the sea like a huge hill, exuding endless fierce breath. This is an ancient monster, whose bloodline continued in ancient times, with the top power of the God Emperor and the Immortal Emperor, and the huge and terrifying dragon snake head was hideous and terrifying. The whole body was wrapped with black and red thorn-like hair and scales, flashing a blood-red cold light. Its eyes were as big as millstones, emitting a cold and bloodthirsty luster, and it was greedily staring at the young man in white on the cliff. Swish! A little light flashed in the dark night. No one could see what happened at this moment, but they could see a faint flash of blood in the lightning. This little blood seemed particularly strange and terrifying at this moment. After the light flashed, many horrible wounds suddenly appeared on the huge body of the terrible monster. The scales and fur in many places were even completely torn apart, and the head was broken. In the broken blood basin mouth, a large seal emitting rainbow light emerged and fell into the hands of the young man in white. The young man was still sighing. The seal in his hand emitted rainbow light and soared into the sky. Another mountain and sea seal was born. Chapter 441 Dazzling Sword. That monster, such a terrifying monster. Then King Beifan is in danger. The Void Observation Seat has always been paying attention to this mysterious king. He is one of the first 6 kings to climb the 4-sided peak, and he is the most mysterious and unpredictable. Suddenly, Beifan's strength exploded, and the monster, that was as big as a hill, and exuded a terrifying aura was killed in an instant. Suddenly, the void was shocked and boiling. This was the first time that this mysterious king showed his strength in front of the void of the times, which immediately caused an uproar. Such a terrifying monster was killed in one move. Too strong. Even across the screen, you can still feel the terrible power contained in the young king standing above the sea of blood. This mysterious king finally broke out his own grandeur, with unmatched strength. It is suspected that he is the strongest among the many kings this time, and Liu Tong cannot reach it. He held the mountain and sea seal in his hand, and the rainbow light soared into the sky, illuminating the sky. The second mountain and sea seal was born. Boom, boom, boom. Above a deep cave at Shanhei Peak. In the deep cave, there is a huge ancient ape monster, which is ferocious and terrifying, and has extraordinary strength. Sudong's body radiates golden light, and the beautiful Buddhist kingdom is reflected in his palm. The Buddhist kingdom in his palm sweeps across the ages, rumbling and rolling over, drawing a dazzling light, and rushing into the cave. He directly suppressed the ancient ape, and no matter how fierce the ancient ape was, the muscles in his huge arms bulged with fierce and terrifying power. He was still suppressed. Sudong suddenly found two rainbow lights behind him. He turned his head and looked. After helping Zhao Zu and the Silver Knife Realm God to defend the river seal, he separated from the two. Without the river seal emitting dim light to locate, he would not be besieged by a large number of kings. It can be said that he can easily hold on until the end of the king's decisive battle, and Sudong's target is the mountain and sea seal. Even Zhao Zu and Silverblade Realm God speculated that the mountain and sea seal was different from the river seal. The river seal could be easily found, but the mountain and sea seal was so hard to find that it must be in some truly dangerous place. They couldn't help much in such a place, and following them might even drag Sudong down. The rainbow light shot up into the sky, indicating that the mountain and sea seal had appeared. For several months, not a single mountain and sea seal had appeared, but suddenly two appeared. It can be inferred that the one who got these two mountain and sea seals must not be an ordinary king. After all, the strength of those who can find the mountain and sea seal in a truly dangerous place should not be underestimated. Just when Sudong was surprised, another rainbow light shot up into the sky. Another mountain and sea seal. Sudong's face changed. 3 mountain and sea seals appeared at the same time. Judging from the difficulty of finding them, the mountain and sea seal is hidden in the dome and big monsters in the most dangerous area of the mountain and sea peak. It is not a little difficult to find it, so it took so long. 3 appeared at once at this moment. I wonder which 3 kings got the mountain and sea seal. Sudong thought to himself. The 3 rainbow lights were far away from him. If I still can't find the mountain and sea seal at the location of the ancient ape, I will go and fight for it. Although I know that the kings must be difficult to deal with, but the 9 mountain and sea seals are crucial in the king's decisive battle. Fighting and killing are inevitable. For a time, many gods and immortals of the Void Age in the Void observation seats all looked at the 3 areas of the mountain and sea peak. Even Master Wang in the Buzhao Mountain Heavenly Palace and the Lord of Pan's Hang Mountain were looking at these 3 areas. It was the most difficult for Qi Jiuyang to get the mountain and sea seal. He almost died. Bei Fan broke out. He was the most relaxed. Since entering the mountain and sea peak, he didn't look for it and directly got a mountain and sea seal. The third one fell into the hands of Pengaiyu. Many powerful people watched. The kings who first found the 3 mountain and sea seals were all extraordinary. The 3 were among the first 6 kings to climb the Siphon Peak. The first one was hidden in the terrible abyss, the second one was in the belly of the blood sea monster, and the third one was on a peak. The mountain and sea seals are extremely difficult to obtain. It is not easy to find, and it is even more difficult to take them from these 3 people. But there are still a large number of strong people who rush to the location of the 3 mountain and sea seals at the first time. Among them, there are many kings who have been hiding their strength and burst out in one day. It's terrible. All the dormant kings are out. The mountain and sea seal in Qi Jiuyang's hand was the first to come out, so the most kings went to him. So many kings. Gun Demon Du Gusheng went there. In the Middle Ages, the Void was originally paying attention to Sudong. But when Qi Jiuyang soared into the sky from the abyss with the mountain and sea seal in his hand, all these eyes were attracted. If you get the mountain and sea seal, you may be the master of the 9 mountain and sea seals. It depends on whether you can keep it. Those who dared to rush over to snatch the mountain and sea seal were not ordinary kings. The rainbow light was soaring into the sky, and there was no way to avoid it. These kings found Qi Jiuyang in an instant. Without any hesitation, the war broke out instantly. Even the 6 kings of Siphon Peak could not control the situation in front of so many kings at this moment. All kinds of Taoist magics were used overwhelmingly. Each attack contained the origin of the way of life and death, and the power was terrifying. Not good. Qi Jiuyang was injured a long time ago in order to obtain the mountain and sea seal, and now he is besieged. The situation is not good. This book was recently updated in Update. In the medieval void, from the many Shura kings of Huangquandaofu to the many powerful people in the void, and even many holy spirits and ancestors, they all paid attention to this battle. The high-level officials of the 6 Yang ancient country were watching with bated breath. Extremely nervous. Qi Jiuyang, who had always been invincible, finally fell into a hard battle. He was seriously injured when he returned from the abyss and was besieged again at this moment. Logically speaking, no king can withstand the siege of so many kings. After all, those who can enter Shanhei Peak have different strengths, but the gap is not that big. Countless strong men are watching, even Master Wang, bull-headed Shura King, Lord of the Mansion, etc., are watching to see if Qi Jiuyang can hold on. This battle is also the most important battle for Qi Jiuyang to defend the Shanhei Seal. If he defends it, the momentum will be different. Not many people dare to come to his Shanhei Seal. Boom. Boom. Gun Demon Du Gusheng is particularly dazzling among the many kings who besieged Qi Jiuyang. He wields a long spear, and the tip of the spear stirs the world, truly showing his terrible strength. Any shot can easily kill a king like the Silver Blade Realm God, and the explosion at this moment is enough to shock the Void. Is Du Gusheng specifically trying to make things difficult for me, the Void of the Middle Ages? First he robbed the river seal of the Silver Knife Realm God, and now he's trying to rob Kijiuyang's mountain and sea seal. Is he from the Void of the Ancient Heroes or the Bandits? In the Void of the Middle Ages, countless people complained and shouted. Suddenly, a divine sword appeared on the screen. Under the violent attacks of many kings, a dazzling rainbow light shot up into the sky, and a dazzling divine sword condensed in the rainbow light. The divine sword was extremely bright and real. Suspended between heaven and earth, there were circles of empty airflow around the divine sword, and the empty airflow drifted away. That is Soul and Spirit secret attack. Kijiuyang's true strength has exploded. At this moment, the besieged Kijiuyang finally exploded his killer move, and the whole world trembled under the light of his divine sword. In the center of heaven and earth, there was only that sword, like the sun hanging in the sky. The sword light shot up into the sky. Every ray of light seemed to be an invisible sword, rushing into the ocean of the souls of many kings. The sword was like a mad dragon, and every ray of sword light wanted to tear apart the souls of the kings and wipe out their will and spirit. At this moment, the sword of the sword god Kijiuyang was shining in the sky with endless power. The sword energy was crisscrossing the mountains and fields, and the sword light was dazzling in all realms. Chapter 442 The Mysterious Beifan. The sword light can be seen clearly, but it cannot be avoided. The secret method of the soul is transformed into sword light, combined with the unparalleled sword method. Weird and terrifying. Attack the soul sea. The sword light ignores the divine body in the distance. You can only rely on your soul to resist. Those who have the soul defense method have a chance to withstand it. Those who don't have the soul defense method will see whether the soul is strong, and whether they can withstand this sword that can destroy the soul. Puff puff puff. The sword light is dazzling. Every time the soul sword light penetrates the king's soul sea, a king's figure will dissipate and be eliminated. There are also kings struggling and resisting. The spear demon Du Gusheng stabbed a long spear across the sky. His face was ferocious and roared. Rumble. A dark spear phantom condensed in his soul sea. He was nicknamed the spear demon. He liked to practice spears since he was a child. He practiced from a weak mortal to the current level of the world god. He already had his own spear soul in his heart. Other gods and immortals are all oceans of souls, but he is a spear soul. The reason why his spear skills are so powerful is that he has long combined spear skills with souls, which greatly increases their power. But at this moment, Kijiuyang's sudden burst of soul secret sword light made him feel suffocated. Kijiuyang's sword and soul secret skills are better than mine. His soul secret skills can only be considered average, but his sword skills are too high. When the two are combined, the sword skills are incredibly exquisite. Du Gusheng can only resist soul secret skills. If you can't resist, you will be eliminated. During this period of time, Kijiuyang, in addition to piling up his own realm to the level of a realm god, spent the rest of his time practicing the soul secret skills. Others practiced the soul secret skills as a simple method, like Sudang. But he was different. He combined sword skills with soul secret skills. Once combined, the power was so strong that he surprised himself. Even with this method, Kijiuyang was confident that he could completely defeat Sudang and the soul secret skills. Wow. In an instant, more than half of the 30 kings were directly eliminated, and a few of them vomited divine blood, turned pale and retreated instantly. The spear demon Du Gusheng's face was as pale as paper, and he did not dare to stay, and also retreated instantly. Some of those who retreated slowly were killed and eliminated by Kijiuyang's sword. Divine blood was scattered, and Kijiuyang, wearing a red robe, stood above the abyss with the mountain and sea seal in his hand. He held it. Despite being seriously injured, he held the mountain and sea seal in his hand, proving his unparalleled talent. Good. The audience in the medieval void watching seats cheered and shouted at the scene in front of them, roaring wantonly. The kings of the ancient country of Liuang all stood up excitedly and pardoned the entire ancient country. Kijiuyang's talent and strength impressed them and made them admire him. Even Wang Zhenren and Pan's Hangshan Lord in the heavenly palace could not help but nod slightly. It's well protected. Not unexpected. A seed specially cultivated by Dao Mansion. After 9 reincarnations, his sword has long been sharpened and tough enough. The handsome face of the Lord of Pan's Hung Mountain also smiled with satisfaction. The soul secret method, that exploded at the end, can be combined with the sword method like that, with the soul secret method containing the extremely murderous origin of the way of death. Very strong, and very suitable for him. Master Wang smiled. Is this the seed cultivated by Dao? It is indeed extraordinary, very strong in all aspects. Almost no shortcomings. Master, I heard that Qi Jiuang lost to Sudong in the void ranking battle in your medieval era. The white-haired god Shuriken looked at Master. He lost to Sudong's soul secret method. Master nodded in response. Suddenly, all the Shurikens understood. So that's how it is. I was defeated by the soul secret technique, so I naturally know where to make up for my own shortcomings. Qi Jiuang's outburst made many strong men recognize his natural strength. Such strength and talent are enough to be trained in the circle of kings under the 10 palaces Shuriken. It is indeed very strong. The Lord of the Mansion also nodded in approval. Inside the mountain and sea peak, after escaping several small worlds away, the gun demon Du Gusheng was pale, holding a long spear, and standing in a green mountain. Beside him was a beautiful celestial being, Fairyland. Fairyland was staring at Du Gusheng in front of her. This was the first time she saw this indomitable and extremely talented king like this. Qi Jiuang. Du Gusheng spoke, with a palpitating light in his eyes. His palms clenched the long spear tightly, and he couldn't help but tremble. A world god, the combination of swordsmanship and soul secret technique, is so powerful. One-on-one, he can kill me in an instant. The gap. Gun demon Du Gusheng rarely surrenders to others, but at this moment he clearly felt the gap. The gap was too big. Especially, Qi Jiuang was still seriously injured. He was besieged by dozens of kings in a seriously injured state, but they still lost. They were defeated, and had nothing to say. Sheng, don't worry, you will definitely get a mountain and sea seal. Fairyland said. This book has been updated recently in @ Update. 9 mountain and sea seals. Anyone who can get them is a top king. Don't think about the one in Qi Jiuang's hand. The other 2, you can try. Du Gusheng stood on the top of the mountain, looking at the 3 rainbow lights in the distance. Among the 3 rainbow lights, Qi Jiuang's one is not worth considering. The other 2, Du Gusheng and Fairyland, both rushed towards the one that was close. The kings fought to the death, and the one they fought for was the mountain and sea seal. No one would give up until the end. While the mountain and sea seal in Qi Jiuang's hand was besieged and fought for, the mountain and sea seal in the hand of King Beifan was also fought for. However, the number of kings fighting for the mountain and sea seal in Beifan's hand was slightly less, but they were also extremely strong. Beifan's attack was still strange and unpredictable. With a flash of light, many kings were injured or eliminated. This mysterious king became more and more terrifying and unpredictable. It shocked the void. Of the 3 mountain and sea seals that came out first, only Penghai was left. King Penghai, who was born in the void of the Shenpeng era, was best at flying. His power and strength in frontal combat might be average, but when it comes to escaping, no one can match him. So, among the rainbow lights stimulated by the 3 mountain and sea seals, his rainbow light was the fastest. No king could keep up with his speed. In a canyon in the mountain and sea peak, Liu Tong, a boundless god with an ugly face and a sledgehammer in his hand, strode out of Monster Cave. He raised his cold eyes and looked at the 3 rainbow lights on the horizon. Among the 3 rainbow lights, one moved quickly, and the position of the 2-hour conversion was dozens of worlds apart. Liu Tong just took a look and ignored that rainbow light. It was so fast. What he was least good at was speed. The other 2, they didn't move at all. They must be extremely confident that they can keep the mountain and sea seal. Is it Qi Jiuang or Beifan? Liu Tong's ugly face was filled with gloomy eyes. In the eyes of others, he was eccentric, crazy as a demon, and cruel by nature. But imagine, how could a congenital creature with such a flawed personality be granted the king's order by Huangquan Daofu? Moreover, is there a big shot of the Daofu paying attention to him? Liu Tong's experience in his youth made his intuition sharper than anyone else. Among the many kings, only 2 made him pay attention. One was Qi Jiuang, and the other was Beifan. Qi Jiuang made him feel pressured, and Beifan even made him feel a little afraid. Beifan's strength was unfathomable. Another rainbow light. Liu Tong suddenly looked at the horizon. Not far from him, a fourth rainbow light suddenly lit up. Deep in the deep cave, Su Dong, dressed in a black robe, stepped on the back of the huge corpse of the ancient ape. The corpse of the ancient ape was broken, and a large seal was revealed in the flesh and blood. The seal was filled with great power, and was emitting dazzling rainbow light. Chapter 443, Crazy Overlord Liu Tong. Su Dong waved his hand, and invisible power waves emanated. The seal hidden in the ancient ape naturally floated up, and floated in his hand. An extremely bright rainbow light shot up into the sky. After Qi Jiuang, Beifan, and Pengaiyu, the fourth mountain and sea seal was born, and was obtained by Su Dong from the ancient ape. Mountain and sea seal. The swordsman also found the mountain and sea seal. Many powerful people from the 9 realms ancient country looked at the screen excitedly. On the huge ancient ape corpse whose hair was dyed red by the blood of the beast, Su Dong was putting the mountain and sea seal into his sleeve, but the rainbow light that shot up into the sky was still like a beam of light across the sky, extremely conspicuous in the sky. The swordsman also got the mountain and sea seal. As long as he keeps this mountain and sea seal, he will definitely become one of the 9 top kings. Enter the ranks of the 10 palaces you're a king. It's not easy to defend. Look, a strong man has already rushed over to him. Some kings who had lost hope in competing for the mountain and sea seals of Qi Jiuang, Pengaiyu, and Beifan placed their hopes on this fourth mountain and sea seal. Deep in the deep cave, those who are confident enough to fight for the mountain and sea seal are all top kings. They are coming in the first wave with great momentum. As long as I show my terrible strength and suppress all the kings, I can naturally defend the mountain and sea seal. Su Dong did not escape. He was not good at flying. Escape would only weaken his momentum, so he just sat cross-legged in the deep cave and waited. Suddenly, boom. A gust of wind whistled past, and a figure rushed into the cave. He was tall and burly, holding a giant hammer in one arm. His face was extremely ugly, but his whole body exuded a domineering and violent aura of power. Liu Tong, nicknamed Overlord, was also called Crazy by some kings. This domineering and crazy king had cold eyes on his ugly face. There was an awe-inspiring bloodthirsty light, like a peerless beast. But facing this beast, Su Dong's eyes were exceptionally calm, as if the latter's fierce power could not make him nervous at all. You're here so fast. Su Dong was a little surprised. He had only received the mountain and sea seal for a few breaths when Liu Tong arrived. Was Liu Tong good at traveling, or was he just nearby? Hand over the mountain and sea seal. Liu Tong spoke, and his voice contained terrible fluctuations, as if he was on the verge of going berserk and trying madly to suppress it. No. Su Dong shook his head directly. Then prepare to die. Liu Tong roared. He didn't like to talk and preferred to speak with the giant hammer in his hand. The one-armed man immediately swung the giant hammer. The hammer seemed extremely huge and heavy, but it was extremely light in Liu Tong's hand, and a dark red hammer shadow burst out in an instant. The hammer shadow suddenly turned into a huge phantom when it left the body, like a hazy phantom of heaven and earth, whistling and smashing directly towards Su Dong, and the surrounding cave stone walls were shattered by the rocks shaken by this terrifying power. Boom. A golden palm print lit up, and a huge and magnificent Buddhist kingdom emerged in the center of the palm print. The Buddhist kingdom in the palm exuded a vast power that shook the world. This palm directly pushed and crushed the hazy hammer shadow. The prestige of the Buddha kingdom in the palm of his hand was also shocking in the void, and it was shining even more at this moment. Die. Liu Tong roared, and his body suddenly swelled up. His already tall and burly body instantly swelled to more than 10 feet tall, and one arm held the same enlarged giant hammer and smashed it over. With a fierce power, Liu Tong seemed not to be a world god, but a giant beast. That Liu Tong is so scary. Su Dong's luck is so bad that he was targeted by Liu Tong. In the void, the strong men who supported Su Dong were worried. Liu Tong was notorious for being crazy, and he was not easy to provoke. All the major void eras were worried that their kings would encounter Liu Tong. Liu Tong was born in the era of the battlefield void. He was born as a congenital creature, but his talent was not obvious when he was young. No one knew that he was of the level of the divine emperor, immortal emperor. Because he was a congenital creature, he was sold several times, and he was almost possessed several times. The extremely terrifying experience in his childhood made his character particularly withdrawn and crazy, and also made him deeply understand that in this world, if you want to obtain wealth, status, and security, you can only rely on your own strength. If you have strong strength, no one dares to provoke you. He is more eager to be strong than anyone else. Then, his divine emperor, immortal emperor bloodline broke out. He showed an unparalleled talent for cultivation, and even the real strong men and higher level people in the battlefield void were shocked. From practicing by himself to being cultivated by a big force, he got the best practice method, and his practice was advancing by leaps and bounds. He only has one arm, but he likes to use a giant hammer. Even if he became a world god, he could have been reborn with a broken arm, but he still kept the one-armed appearance. One arm, a giant hammer, fighting and killing again and again. He is crazier than anyone else. His hammering skills were also extremely terrifying. Every time he swung a hammer, it seemed as if he had a hatred and evil spirit for the world. Because of his powerful innate bloodline, his strength continued to improve, and his hammering skills also continued to improve. Just like Qi Huayang's swordsmanship, his hammering skills had already reached an incredible level, extremely terrifying. Finally, it directly attracted the attention of the existence of Huangquan Daofu. Then he was given the king's order, and became a king. The big man of the Daofu even helped him secretly several times. Fighting on the edge of life and death again and again, and almost dying again and again, also made his hammering skills more rapid. The crazier and more crazy he was, the more terrifying his hammering skills were. Now, the hammering skills alone have made him touch the outline of the origin of death. The innate secret method has made his strength soar by dozens of times. The two major alliances made him the most difficult king to provoke among the 6 kings of Siphon Peak. He was not easy to provoke and crazy. Unfortunately, he met Sudang, swordsman Sudang, whose reputation gradually rose at the foot of the southern gate of Buzhao Mountain, shocked many in the Void era with his battle with Zhang Zifeng. He is good at Qian Weishan swordsmanship, and his natural talent has beng recognized as stunning for an era. Overlord Liu Tong has used his innate secret method, and Sudang has also put pressure on him. In the past, Liu Tong has never used his innate secret method in battles. Many powerful people in the void watched this battle. In the Dao Mansion, many Shura kings are paying attention. This book has been updated recently in #@. Update. Is the crazy Liu Tong more terrifying, or is the swordsman Sudang stronger? The king's decisive battle, what they are eager to see, is this kind of strong collision. Boom. The originally deep cave had long been directly blasted open by the power. On a vast wasteland, Sudang's body radiated endless golden light, and the golden light was so bright that his skin and hair turned faintly golden. Indestructible golden body. Opposite him, there was Liu Tong, who was more than 10 feet tall, and holding a giant hammer. Liu Tong's body was surrounded by a terrifying dark red evil spirit. He stared at Sudang. This Liu Tong, his innate secret method makes me feel a little bit of the aura of the bull-headed Shura King. What kind of innate creature is he? Sudang looked at Liu Tong. You know, the bull-headed Shura King is the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor. He has also heard that Liu Tong's bloodline is extraordinary, but he doesn't know his true background. In the past, he only knew that he was crazy, but after fighting, he knew that Liu Tong was not really crazy. It was just that his fighting style was crazy, but his heart was extremely calm, and his soul and will were extremely strong. Sudang used the Dragon Elephant Kun Divine Bell Soul Secret method, but it couldn't affect him at all. As a strong man, Liu Tong was cruel, bloodthirsty, and had enough strength. In terms of combat power, I'm afraid he can rank first among the 6 kings of Siphon Peak. This was Sudang's impression of Liu Tong's brief fight. At the edge of the wasteland, one by one, the kings rushed over and looked from afar. Is that Liu Tong? Crazy Liu Tong? Everyone watched and didn't dare to get close. Chapter 444. The magical art of following the heavens. The mountain and sea seal is on the black-robed king, and the rainbow light is emanating from him. Who is that black-robed king? I don't know him. I've never seen him. They were all kings who were lurking in various places on the mountain and sea peak, waiting for the mountain and sea seal to appear before they could fight for it. They were all powerful, and some were even as powerful as the gun demon Du Gusheng and Zhang Zifeng, who were able to make an upset. Of course, in terms of their average strength, they were all slightly weaker than Liu Tong. I've seen that black-robed king at the South Mountain Gate. He came from the void in the Middle Ages, and his name was Sudang. A king spoke, the Mountain Gate. It is said that he showed divine power. They had never seen Sudang and Zhang Zifeng fight. The other kings nodded slightly and watched from afar. Just wait, Liu Tong got there first. If we attack him now, who knows if this madman will attack us? If Liu Tong gets the mountain and sea seal, our hope will be even slimmer. Sudang should have some tricks to get the mountain and sea seal. It would be best if he could injure Liu Tong so that we can attack him. Everyone watched from afar. They were all making their own plans. Sudang also noticed the gazes of the surrounding kings, but he just frowned slightly and ignored them. His dark eyes stared at Liu Tong in front of him. But then, boom. Liu Tong's body was surrounded by dark red divine light. The divine light gathered and condensed into a terrifying beast on his body that was more than 10 feet high. The beast was nearly 50 feet high and nearly 400 or 500 meters long. It was covered with dark red scales and had a strange and ferocious curved sharp horn on its head. In the bloody mouth like a tiger, the sharp dark red teeth made people feel terrified. Liu Tong's body floated up, floating to the center of the giant beast's eyebrows. His eyes seemed to overlap with the giant beast, emitting a violent and bloodthirsty luster. Die. The huge beast instantly swung its terrifying hoof claws, but it directly grabbed several kings in the distance that were almost tiny compared to it. The monstrous aura filled the air, and Liu Tong and the dark red giant beast's phantom also saw strange dark red Taoist patterns on his skin, and his one-armed giant hammer was also swung out in an instant. The terrifying hammer shadow instantly inspired tens of thousands of miles away. Then, a young and handsome king in white clothes, holding a folding fan and preparing to watch the excitement, was killed and eliminated with a hammer. The latter showed horror when he was eliminated. Then the claw shadow flashed like a sharp blade cutting through the sky, piercing a tall and burly king who was still wearing armor on his body, splitting his divine body into two, and was eliminated in great pain. Huang Deofu has magic that can protect them from death, but the pain of death still needs to be endured. This is also because Huang Deofu's methods are too against the will of heaven, and it can control life and death. Swish. The huge dark red beast shadow turned its body, and the monstrous breath filled the air. Two more kings were eliminated under its claws. They were madly ravaged. Madman. He actually attacked us? This Liu Tong is a beast. Those kings who were ready to watch the fun and reap the benefits were completely crazy. This Liu Tong was like a beast protecting food. He prohibited any enemies from appearing around before he ate, and they were completely collapsed. How could he be so strong? This Liu Tong used to be notorious, but I haven't heard that he is so strong. Dozens of kings avoided far away, and no one dared to watch the battle, lest they be killed by the completely crazy Liu Tong. After instantly bursting out and killing several kings and forcing those kings to flee, Liu Tong controlled the terrifying beast formed on his body and looked coldly at his target Sudang. Interesting. Sudang's eyes were calm, like a deep and vast ocean, but under this calm, there was a turbulent undercurrent. This Liu Tong was crazy enough, but he was also meticulous and should not be underestimated. Boom. With one step, Liu Tong directly controlled the dark red giant beast to swing its hooves and claws to kill Sudang. Sudang maintained his immortal golden body and suddenly turned into a golden stream of light. The golden stream of light burst out with layers of power, and then he swung his palm out. The immortal golden body was an extremely powerful body protection technique, and the word immortal was not just talk. The two of them immediately fought together. In the heavenly palace, Master Wang and the Lord of Pan's Hang Mountain, Wang, looked at each other. They always paid attention to the Jade Mirror of Shanhei Peak, and naturally saw this battle the moment Liu Tong used the dark red giant beast phantom. Both of them were moved. The dark red giant beast phantom had a great origin, and it was also a magical method that could shock the void for an era, and it was very powerful. At that time, the eldest brother invited the top void ancestors and holy spirits of all times to jointly create a magical art that integrates the strengths of all schools. Among them, the sword technique includes the 12-layer heaven sword technique. Master Wang spoke, and only the Lord of Pan's Hang Mountain could hear his voice, and the beautiful fairy maids beside him could not hear it. Brother Zhao is an expert in swordsmanship. The 12-layer heaven sword technique contains Brother Zhao's sword technique. My sword technique is barely fluent, and was compiled into the 6th style of heaven sword technique by the Emperor. The Lord of Pan's Hang Mountain nodded. This book was recently updated in update. So the 6th style of heaven sword technique is also named after Brother Zhao's title. Master Wang smiled. However, in addition to the creation of the heaven sword technique, there were many magical arts and supernatural powers at that event. Among the 13 magical arts, one of them should be the one that Liu Tong is performing now. Yes, but that magical art has flaws and is not easy to practice. Liu Tong can practice it. The expressions of both of them were very serious. Unlike the widely spread 12 layers of heavenly swordsmanship, the other 13 magic arts are all secret and have more or less flaws. Liu Tong's ability to master them not only shows that the big man behind him is of high status, but also proves that his future achievements are limitless. Liu Tong. Both of them paid attention to this king. Among the many strong men in the void spectator seats, none of them had a broad vision like the two dominant kings. They just felt that Liu Tong's magic power was extremely powerful and terrifying. He killed several kings in an instant, which shocked the void. The lords of the 9 realms and others were all sweating and anxious for Sudang. This Liu Tong is too terrifying. Can Sudang keep the mountain and sea seal? Oh no, how did Sudang meet such a madman? Thunderfire Celestial Immortal began to prepare fine wine for Sudang again. Even if we can't keep this mountain and sea seal, it's fine as long as we don't get eliminated. I'm afraid that Liu Tong will go crazy and let Sudang be eliminated directly. In the Middle Ages, many gods and immortals in the void were anxious. We must eliminate Liu Tong. Eliminate that swordsman. King Xiangsu was looking forward to it. Boom. In the picture, Sudang used the void escape method, and his indestructible golden body radiated golden light all over his body, like a golden light, flashing between heaven and earth, and easily avoided Liu Tong's attack. In the past, I thought my body speed was a shortcoming, and this Liu Tong. His body speed is also average. Not much different from mine. As soon as Sudang fought, he immediately discovered the difference between Liu Tong and Zhang Zifeng. Zhang Zifeng had learned a lot and was good at body speed, but Liu Tong was different. Liu Tong was a frontal crusher. The speed of the two was not much different. It depends on who has more power. Boom. A dark knife light appeared in the sky above the vast plain, and the dark knife light collided with the giant beast phantom on Liu Tong's body. There was a roar. The knife light tore off one of the giant beast's phantom's hooves and slashed at Liu Tong in it. Liu Tong was holding a giant hammer. He reacted very quickly and swung the giant hammer in an instant. Clang clang clang. The knife light and the hammer shadow collided. The dark knife light tore everything apart, while the hammer shadow wanted to destroy everything. The two great magic arts collided head on, with the knife light being shattered by the hammer and the hammer shadow being split apart. This scene was reflected in front of all ages in the void, and many powerful people watched nervously. Is the 5th important Xian Wei Xian Dao for weaker than his magic arts? Well, it's time to explode. During the battle, Sudang was blasted away by a hammer, and even cracks appeared on his immortal golden body, but his eyes suddenly condensed. Chapter 445, The King of 10,000 Swords reappears in the void. Boom. Liu Tong's divine body suddenly transformed into a giant of nearly 60 feet. The dark red giant beast phantom wrapped around his body was closer to reality, with a powerful breath and a surge of power. With one hammer, Sudang's sword light was blasted away, and his indestructible golden body trembled, and cracks appeared on his body. Many powerful void masters were shocked. The power stimulated by different levels of magic skills was different. Liu Tong's magic skills were close to invincible at the same level and could break the indestructible golden body. It was a top magic skill that could suppress an era and was invincible. But few people knew about this magic skill. Its origin was far-reaching, and it was no less than the 12-layer outer heaven sword technique. Liu Tong displayed a new level of magic skills, and the already powerful hammering method was strengthened again. The power had an astonishing surge, even approaching the top level of the power of the God Emperor Immortal Emperor. This hammer immediately changed the color of many powerful masters. I can't bear it anymore. Su Dong is injured. What a terrifying Liu Tong. The face of the king of the Nine Realms ancient country was ugly. The strength displayed by Liu Tong, a mere realm god, was no less than that of the late-stage divine emperor Immortal Emperor. His natural appearance was really terrifying. Many void gods and immortals were shocked. They were frightened by Liu Tong's fierce momentum, but this was also the most attractive part of the king's decisive battle, where they could see a powerful person who truly amazed the void of an era. Too strong. In the Nine Realms, Feng Lao Rong's face in the void temple was ugly. Liu Tong had an overwhelming advantage against Su Dong. If he hit him with another hammer, he might be able to directly smash Su Dong's golden body and kill him. The colorful stone Su Dong next to him had a grim face. Countless spectators who watched this battle sighed. The gap in strength was obvious, and the winner had been decided. If the swordsman Su Dong didn't hand over the mountain and sea seal, he would be in danger. Boom. At this moment, Su Dong broke out. An irrepressible sword intent and the origin of the way of death instantly permeated his whole body. His eyes were dark and stagnant. It was time to burst out all his strength. The 6th level of the Cheyenne Wei-Shin sword technique. Su Dong let out a low roar. Endless dark sword light directly enveloped his entire body. Boom, boom, boom. The sword light formed a storm, the sword light turned into sword light wings, and the sword light formed a dark thunder armor. Su Dong's entire body instantly turned into a sword demon completely wrapped in sword light. Like a god and demon crawling out of hell, the fierce and dazzling, deep and dark sword light soared into the sky, wanting to kill everything. Die. At this time, Liu Tong swung his strongest hammer and slammed it towards Su Dong, not caring about the changes on Su Dong's body. He was confident that he was enough to crush everything at this moment. King of 10,000 swords. Cut. Su Dong roared. The two wings of the blade light behind him flapped at the same time, and his arms completely turned into a storm of blade light. The whole body of the god was a huge blade light slashing. In an instant, 4 blade lights turned into 4 dazzling blade lights. The dark blade light was across the sky, dazzling and eye-catching, terrifying and deep. Unprecedented blade light, unprecedented power. This is what Su Dong gained after he realized the Tao in the reincarnation slanting moon cave and practiced in the ancient corpse cave for 1200 days. Practicing in the ancient corpse cave for 1200 days, directly absorbing the dead air to comprehend the origin of the way of death, is a greater improvement than comprehending the 3000 wonderful arts in the slanting moon reincarnation cave. In the slanting moon reincarnation cave, Su Dong realized the 5th level of the heavenly sword method and touched the threshold of the 6th level, but he only had some understanding and had not reached it. In the ancient corpse cave, he comprehended the way of death for 1200 days. Start with the mystery of the origin of the way of death. On the contrary, he observed the 6th level of Cheyenne Wei-Shin sword skill, and with a page of Buddhist scriptures, to peek into the future. The 6th level of Cheyenne Wei-Shin sword skill naturally went from touching to breaking through, and gradually integrated. Endless and terrifying sword intent. Ignoring any blocking sword light. The terrifying and deep sword light gathered into a new form, a new realm. The 6th level of the 12-level Cheyenne Wei-Shin sword skill, the king of 10,000 swords, reappeared in the world. Boom 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 boom. 4 terrifying sword lights instantly split the giant beast phantom on the body of giant Liu Tong. When the first sword light blasted the giant beast phantom, Liu Tong's face changed. Because this knife made him feel fear. How long has it been since he felt fear? The magic he relied on was like paper in front of Su Dong's sword light. This sword light was too sharp and too terrifying. Break. There was no more madness on the ugly face of giant Liu Tong, but he became extremely calm and steady. He swung the giant hammer in his hand vigorously. Boom. The giant hammer slammed into the 4 sword lights. The giant hammer was blasted with bright sparks, and the power tore a gap on his huge chest, and the divine blood flowed. His huge body retreated violently. He quickly retreated tens of thousands of miles, and the divine blood he spilled was absorbed back in the process of retreating. In the blink of an eye, the huge divine body recovered again. He looked at Sudong in shock and anger. The 6th level of Xian Wei Xian Dao, the king of 10,000 swords. Let's go. Without stopping, the madness on Liu Tong's face disappeared. He was extremely crazy, but he had absolute rationality, otherwise he would have died at a young age. What is that? Stupid, that's the king of 10,000 swords, the 6th level of Xian Wei Xian Dao, the king of 10,000 swords. He is a world god. A world god can actually perform the king of 10,000 swords. In the heavenly palace, many Taoist shuriken clergymen in front of the jade mirror were all in an uproar. Some of them even secretly shot their eyes at the Lord of Pan's Han Mountain, who was sitting side by side with Master Wang at the top of the palace. Even the Lord of the Palace was amazed. They discussed quietly. The King of 10,000 Swords is a title in itself. It was a title that resounded throughout the void for many eras when the Lord of Pan's Han Mountain rose to power. To have this title also means that the Lord of Pan's Han Mountain has reached an extremely high level in swordsmanship, surpassing the void of many eras, and the title is the King. This book has been updated recently in Update. The reputation of the Lord of Pan's Han Mountain is purely based on strength. Back then, the great Lord of Xianqi Rinsheng wrote the first swordsmanship in the void, and included the essence of the swordsmanship of the Lord of Pan's Han Mountain. The 6th level of the Xian Weishan swordsmanship is this sword, and it is named King of 10,000 Swords after its title. In fact, after the 6th level of the 12 levels of Xian Weishan swordsmanship, each level is more terrifying than the previous one. Its reputation is illustrious, and it includes the swordsmanship of the strong in the void that can suppress an era. It is extremely difficult, and few strong people can master it all. The 6th level is comparable to the top power of the Divine Emperor. The 7th level has reached the limit of the Divine Emperor and is invincible. The 8th level is comparable to the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor. The 9th level and beyond, that is all legend. And from the 6th level onwards, the power of each level is a surge, and the further you go, the more outrageous and powerful it is. Sudong's whole body is pitch black, and the knife light forms a knife-like divine body on his body. The knife-light wings behind him are terrifying and gorgeous, beautiful, and dangerous. Wow. The pitch black knife light gradually converges and merges into his body. Sudong, whose knife intent is soaring into the sky, glances calmly into the distance. The many kings who are still peeping at this place from afar dare not stay for a moment. Some of them have just arrived, and some have been watching the battle for a long time. At this moment, no one dares to step forward. Didn't you see it? Even Liu Tong was killed and fled. If they go up, are they looking for death? In the empty viewing seats, there was silence. Countless gods and immortals were looking at Sudong in the picture. With one look, many kings were frightened and fled in embarrassment. They all remembered this scene clearly in their hearts. Sudong suddenly broke out, and the King of 10,000 Swords appeared, crushing and sweeping the crazy Liu Tong. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 446. A man should be like this. This scene must have been widely circulated in all ages of the void, because the King of 10,000 Swords is a legend. The King of 10,000 Swords, a realm god. He actually realized the 6th level of swordsmanship. In a separate viewing space, the soul of the gloomy King Xiangsu was trembling slightly, and even his eyes were emitting a terrifying light. Just a little realm god, he has mastered the 6th level of Xian Weishan swordsmanship. The King of 10,000 Swords, even if he has only mastered it initially, has the power of the top level of the Divine Emperor. If he goes one step further, he will be invincible to the extreme. The most important thing is that he is just a realm god. He still has enough room for growth. When he masters the 8th level, he will be on equal footing with him, and he may be able to easily kill him with his sword. I thought he was just a little king with no background, with some opportunities and some understanding. There are so many gods who practice Shyonwaitian swordsmanship in the void, but I didn't expect that a little guy like him would have such a high level of attainment in this swordsmanship. This understanding is too strong and too outrageous. Even the strong King Xiangsu felt panic in his heart. I was wrong. I misjudged this Sudang. If he is vindictive, I will live in fear in the future. After becoming the Holy Spirit Zuzu, he enjoyed endless years. There were more to enjoy, but there were also more to fear. King Xiangsu was one of them. In the Heavenly Palace, the Lord of Pan's Hang Mountain, Wang, looked at Sudang in the picture of the Jade Mirror with a smile. Brother Zhao, what do you think of this little guy's swordsmanship? The Master Wang next to him deliberately asked. Haha, the world god has mastered the 6th level, 1 in a million, incredible. The Lord of Pan's Hang Mountain laughed directly. Master Wang's eyes radiated divine light and nodded slightly. Yes, the realm god has comprehended the 6th level of the heavenly sword technique. It's incredible, indeed, and his growth rate is very fast. His potential is great, not inferior to that of Qi Jiuang, Liu Tong, and Bei Fan. Does the immortal think highly of him? My eldest senior brother asked me to find more talents to cultivate for the Dao Mansion. I think Sudang is a good candidate. Well, winning the mountain and sea seal is enough for him to enter the 10th palace Shuriking of my Dao Mansion to practice in seclusion. The two Lord Kings talked and decided the final destination of the many kings in the mountain and sea peak. Of course, he also needs to be taught well. This Sudang has the potential to become a holy spirit. He is a good seedling and cannot be wasted, said Master Wang. The handsome young man Pan's Hangshan Lord King nodded slightly. His eyes flickered. This Sudang is good at swordsmanship. He is also good at swordsmanship, but in the many eras of the void, there are many genius kings who are good at swordsmanship, and he admires many of them. Now accepting this Sudang under his command, I'm afraid it will have a bad impact on him. I'm the Lord of Dao Mansion. If I rashly accept a disciple, I'm afraid that his status will be too high among his peers. The disciple of the Lord, what a generation. The starting point is too high. It is inevitable that he will be arrogant. If this unpolished jade is destroyed, it will be bad. Cultivating geniuses is a science. These kings who entered the Dao Mansion in the decisive battle are all arrogant, of course. They are indeed qualified to be proud now, but on the road to becoming the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor, there are disasters in cultivation, and there are disasters in the secular world. There is no shortage of geniuses in the void of all ages, but only a few people can eventually become the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor. Let me think, in which era of the void, the 10 Palaces Shuriking is good at swordsmanship? The Lord of Pan's Hang Mountain thought to himself. Although he did not accept Sudang as a disciple, he was still willing to lend a helping hand. Having a good teacher to teach can help you avoid many detours on the road of cultivation. Inside Shanhei Peak, the sunlight of 9 suns is scorching, shining on the edge of a wide ocean on Shanhei Peak. Even if there are 9 suns. But for the vast void of the mountain and sea world, these 9 suns are still very small, suspended in the sky, just making people feel warm. Sudang sat cross-legged on the beach. His body exuded rainbow light, which soared into the sky, and was extremely dazzling. It has been exactly 29 days since the battle with Liu Tong. In these 29 days, he fought nearly 70 battles of all sizes. Sometimes he was attacked late at night, sometimes he was trapped in a maze while walking, and then was surrounded and killed by a group of kings. In short, in order to get the mountain and sea seal, these kings can be said to have used every possible means. After performing the 6th level of the Shyonwaitian sword method, the King of 10,000 Swords, because Sudang also performed it for the first time, he defeated Liu Tong, and made Liu Tong, a strong man, retreat. Sudang was just trying to hone his swordsmanship through fighting, and he was full of fighting spirit. Killing all the way, breaking through many traps, and killing several sieges, his steps became more determined, and the murderous aura on his body became heavier. It is now the 29th day since he got the mountain and sea seal. In the past 5 or 6 days, he has fought less and less, because a king followed the rainbow light to chase him. Before he flew to his side, he saw the murderous aura on him from afar, and his scalp numbed. Before he started, His courage weakened a little, and he retreated far away. At this moment, he sat cross-legged on the seashore, watching the ebb and flow of the vast ocean. There were ancient big fish in the seawater, and the vast giant beasts appeared and churned. From afar, there were also ferocious monsters, beasts and birds, that saw the human figure on the shore. But these mythical beasts are not ordinary, and they all feel that the human is not easy to provoke. My knife, when it comes out, it will shine across the sky, so that the monsters, ghosts, beasts and birds will retreat. Sudong's heart was also full of heroic spirit. All the way, he proved his strength and talent in the void of many eras, and also verified his innate understanding. Saying that there is no arrogance? That's a lie. This book was recently updated in update. But a man should be like this, wielding a long sword, and being invincible is what he pursues. Now that 8 mountain and sea seals have appeared in the world, I can't find the last one. I must snatch one. A figure rushed over the mountain, with a handsome face. His eyes were like lightning, and there was a vertical eye between his eyebrows. The vertical eye contained golden lightning. This rainbow light is the closest to me. This king. I have heard of him, the king of the void in the Middle Ages. Nicknamed the swordsman. This figure was subdued in the distant mountains and forests, secretly peeping at Sudong on the beach. He didn't see that Sudong, who was sitting cross-legged there, had a smile on his face. I heard that this swordsman is good at the soul secret method, and his other skills are just average. How could he get a mountain and sea seal by chance? I copied it this time. Kill. Boom. In the forest, the king rushed out in an instant. His figure was like lightning. His whole body was flashing with golden lightning, and he pounced on Sudong like a god in thunder. His vertical eye instantly shot out a golden lightning that danced in the air, piercing the void and bursting out with destructive power. Buzz. Sudong opened his eyes and looked over, and the huge soul method attack came in an instant. Such a strong murderous aura. The king's heart trembled, and a huge golden bell and 3 giant beasts appeared in the soul sea. The soul secret method attacked. Divine lightning soul capture technique. The king roared. The soul sea directly turned into a sea of divine lightning, easily blocking Sudong's soul secret method attack. Haha. The soul secret method is just like this. Hand over the mountain and sea seal. He laughed. Suddenly, a dark knife flashed in front of him. Sudong swung his knife straight out, and the knife light instantly cut through the king's divine body. The king's eyes widened, and he was eliminated in an instant. Very brave, but too weak. Sudong shook his head. On the Siphon Peak. At this moment, the number of eliminated kings gathered has reached nearly 400, and the king's decisive battle is also coming to an end. Thunder God, you are also eliminated? Haha, you scared me. I thought you were going to get the river seal or the mountain and sea seal to become one of the top 20 kings. Fortunately, you were eliminated. Tell me, who eliminated you? Many kings looked over. Although everyone was eliminated, there were so many brothers in distress. Instead, they were in a good mood. The thunder god blinked his thunder and lightning eyes. He had not recovered from the knife just now. Chapter 447, Counting the Super Kings. Today is the time. You eliminated me with just one sword? Lei Shenzi looked down at his hands. He had been dormant in Shanhei Peak for such a long time, and his strength had improved greatly. He was able to hold on until now before being eliminated, because he was cautious and his strength was really strong enough. But he still couldn't stop the swordsman Sudong's sword. This swordsman's swordsmanship is much stronger than his soul secrets. He can get the Shanhei seal, so his strength is really abnormal. Lei Shenzi thought to himself. On the Siphon Peak, the strong gathered. Time passed, and soon, all the Shanhei seals and Jiang seals came out. The eliminated kings talked to each other, and they also summarized the information of the 9 kings who got the Shanhei seal and the 11 kings who got the Jiang seal. Among them, the swordsman Sudong was an extremely dazzling strong man. Among these many eliminated kings, the deterrent power of the swordsman Sudong can be ranked in the top 5. And the battles one after another also thoroughly established Sudong's reputation as a super king. In the void observation seat, countless strong men looked at the few remaining kings in Shanhei Peak. With the gradual elimination of more than 400 kings, the kings still in Shanhei Peak are all strong among the strong, and geniuses among geniuses. Among them, it is generally recognized that the top ones are Sword God Qi Jiang, King Beifan, Swordsman Sudong, Crazy Liu Tong and the Low-Key Giant Jiu. They all got the Mountain and Sea Seal and are extremely powerful. Among them, King Beifan is the most mysterious, Sword God Qi Jiang is the most dazzling, Swordsman Sudong is the most evil, Crazy Liu Tong is the craziest, and Jiang Jiu is the most low-key. The void has long been boiling, and there are constant arguments over who is the strongest among the 5 kings. That Jiang Jiu is very strong. He comes from the void of the Shinan era. In the void, there was a Holy Spirit Zuzu who said that he was very optimistic about the low-key Jiang Jiu. I noticed him before. This Jiang Jiu, who also mastered the origin of the way of life and death, has a natural talent far beyond that of Liu Tong and Sudong. He will become a top Holy Spirit in the future. Low-key Jiang Jiu had been unknown, and low-key before he got the Shanhei seal. He looked average among many kings, his momentum was average, and even his birth was very average, and he was an 8-crown king. As soon as he arrived at Shanhei Peak, he opened up a cave, closed the door, and waited with all his heart, just like that. He also got a Shanhei seal. Originally, he seemed to be just a king who could be eliminated at will. Because he accidentally got the Shanhei seal, he attracted the attention of many eras in the void. At the beginning, no one was optimistic about him. As a result, Zhang Zifan from the void of the Shinan era tried to snatch the Shanhei seal, but was directly defeated and eliminated by Jiang Jiu's terrible magic. Unlike Sudong, who did not show his strength when fighting with Zhang Zifan, in order to protect the Mountain and Sea Seal and intimidate the many kings who were eyeing him covetously, Jiang Jiu used thunderous means, and he did it. He used thunderous means to show his amazing power, easily defeated and eliminated Zhang Zifan, and shocked the entire void. People only then knew that Jiang Jiu had always been low-key. Now, he showed his strength. Jiang Jiu, an extremely low-key, but extremely powerful king. The eyes of many Taoist clergy in the Heavenly Palace also lit up. They paid full attention to this king. He is a fellow practitioner of the 2 paths of life and death, and his natural talent is extremely high. It is worth cultivating. Who knows if he will become a powerful Shura king in the future. After becoming the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor, the difference in strength is also huge, just like the Shura king who is also the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor in the Huangquan Taoist Palace. The difference in strength between the Shura king with 9 crowns and the Shura king with 2 or 3 crowns is not a little bit. Jiang Jiu, whose natural talent shocked the void and attracted attention. Of course, it was not only him who attracted attention. Sudong. In the endless void, deep in an endless abyss, a man with a body emitting fire. His body was 1,000 feet tall, holding a flaming longsword in his hand. The longsword was like a standing volcano, emitting tremendous divine power. This Holy Spirit Void Ancestor was looking at the scene in front of him, and his low voice resounded throughout the abyss. Realm God, Master the King of 10,000 Swords. He is a natural swordsman. If he can become my disciple, he will definitely become a top powerhouse in the future. In the void, the master-disciple inheritance relationship is very reliable. There are many examples in each era that have risen overnight because of teaching extraordinary disciples. As for taking in disciples, only Sudong or Jiang Jiu can be considered. Because the other 3, Sword God Qi Jiang is gifted, and it is speculated that he has 1,000 threads of relationship with some plans of Huangquan Daofu, which is dazzling and amazing. Crazy Liu Tong has superb skills, and there are also big figures in Huangquan Daofu behind him, and he has a deep connection. The most mysterious King Beifan. This King Beifan's performance is so extraordinary, but it was enough to amaze the void. Many Ashura kings, clergymen, and even the 2 top masters, the Lord of Panzhang Mountain and Master Wang, in the Buzhao Mountain Heavenly Palace, chose to deliberately ignore this mysterious king. It can be seen that he is not ordinary. Compared with Sudong and Jiang Jiu, who suddenly appeared unexpectedly, Qi Jiang, Beifan, and Liu Tong all have more or less strange factors. Apart from these 5 people, the second strongest person who got the Mountain and Sea Seal is the gun demon Du Gusheng and His Highness Lin Yu of the Great Light God Qilin. The third one is the ghost Taoist Han Feng. His strange ghost and magic skills shocked and frightened countless goddesses and fairies in the void. The horror of the Taoism he displayed was so terrifying that even their souls would have nightmares. The last one is the goddess Yuling, who got the mountain and sea seal by chance and was pulled to the great light god Qilin His Highness Lin Yu to personally protect her. I don't know what price this goddess paid, but after a month, the mountain and sea seal recognized its master, and she also became one of the 9 top kings. But no one felt it was unfair, and they assumed that such a goddess should get strong support. As for the remaining 11 kings who got the river seal, each of them was more or less extraordinary. The most peculiar thing was that several of them got it because they were protected by the king of the mountain and sea seal. For example, the goddess of the clear sky got the river seal under the protection of King Zhang Zifeng. Fairyland got the river seal with the help of Du Gusheng. Zhaozu and the Silver Knife Realm god relied on Sudong to defend the river seal. All kinds of things. Being able to attract strong support is also a means of competing for the seal, and even the Huangquan Daofu has no regulations that it is not allowed. It took 9 months. When all the 20 seals recognized their masters, there were only less than 30 kings left in the mountain and sea peak, 2 or 3 of whom accidentally broke into the GD and were trapped in the GD, and the rest were defeated but not eliminated and kept waiting for opportunities, but only left with regret. The 20 top kings were of course the most dazzling at this moment. They held the mountain and sea seals or river seals and were watched by many eras and voids. They enjoyed the most respectful gazes. 20 people, almost all of them were monsters. Now they have already amazed an era, and in the future, they may suppress an era and open up a void. Many powerful people in the void were amazed by them, and their relatives and friends cheered and were proud of them. Among these 20 people, Sudong and Qiji Huang made the medieval void boil. The ancient country of Jiuji and the ancient country of Liuang had already celebrated nationwide. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. 2 super kings in one era. The swordsman's swordsmanship is too strong. The 6th level of the heavenly swordsmanship. Who can compete with the king of 10,000 swords? In terms of swordsmanship, Sudong can be ranked first in the void in countless eras. Qiji Huang is also strong. With the combination of swordsmanship and soul secrets, who can be his opponent? Qiji Huang is a divine sword innate creature. How can he compete? Wow. Suddenly, the void viewing seats fell into darkness. It's over? It's over. The king's decisive battle is over. It's refreshing to witness the power of kings from different eras that amaze the void. It's really refreshing. My heaven and earth essence is not in vain. In the past, I thought I was talented enough, but when I saw them, I felt that I was nothing. No, nothing. This is the most exciting king's decisive battle I have ever seen. It's so exciting. There was a lot of discussion in the void. Genius kings of different eras blossomed and showed their magical powers. There have been dazzling geniuses in the past, but when it comes to super kings, we can only look at today. Inside Shanhei Peak, Sudong was walking in a forest. Suddenly, a ray of light enveloped him. Before Sudong could react, he was instantly moved out of Shanhei Peak. The second update will be later. Chapter 448, finally entering the Dao Mansion for cultivation. Swish, swish, swish. A series of gorgeous rays of light suddenly fell, covering Sudong, Qiji Huang, Beifan, Liu Tong and other 20 kings. Some of them were fighting monsters, some were studying Taoism, and some were walking on the road. In short, a ray of light descended and directly moved them out of Shanhei Peak. On the Siphon Peak of Buzhao Mountain, the 442 kings who were eliminated saw the 20 rays of light across the sky and all showed envious eyes. Wow. On the Siphon Peak, a strong and rich aura appeared again. The black divine bird circled and appeared and landed on the giant tree above the Siphon Peak. The black light flashed and turned into the previous pretty girl in black skirt. But at this moment, no king dared to underestimate this girl. The latter could blow them away with a wave of her hand. The decisive battle between your kings has ended. Entering the Dao Palace is just the beginning. I hope you will practice well in the future. Remember, strong strength is the foundation. Let's go down the mountain now. The girl in the black skirt said. Wow. After she finished speaking, the girl in the black skirt turned into a black divine bird again and flew away. 4 figures appeared on the Siphon Peak. Among these four figures, there was an old man with a hunched body and a big man with a rough face. There was also a middle-aged man with a white face and no beard. The most peculiar thing was that there was also a boy. It's the Four Directions Divine General. The boy is extremely powerful and has a domineering personality. He guards the North Mountain Road. When he was going up the mountain, a king just contradicted him when he was talking and was thrown down the mountain directly. Many kings hurried down the mountain. Let's go. I'm satisfied that I can become a king of the Dao Mansion. What we need to do now is to improve our strength. The Huangquan Dao Mansion values strength the most. Those who are stronger now, as long as I surpass them in strength, will naturally get everything. Yes, this king's decisive battle, it doesn't matter if we are eliminated. The king geniuses adjusted their mentality one by one. They were originally the pride of heaven. Some of them opened the Huangquan Road and became kings after passing the Huangquan Road. Some of them inspired the king's order. Geniuses like them are naturally arrogant. This time they were hit hard. Some of them were unwilling to accept it. Some secretly regarded the 20 kings as their targets. The ranking in the Dao Mansion determines everything. The higher the ranking, the higher the status, the more training resources you will enjoy. Of course, the premise of all this is to have strong enough strength. In short, it was over, and most of the kings still flew down the mountain with a depressed look. At the foot of Siphon Mountain, there were already Shura kings waiting, but most of them didn't look very good, especially towards those kings who performed very poorly. After all, the king's decisive battle was open to the public. Their performance was fully exposed. Those who were ridiculously poor were not worth the attention of these Shura kings. In the Dao Mansion, the status of normal Shura kings was higher than that of their kings. The level of status depends on strength and potential. The strength of Shura kings is definitely higher than that of kings. But potential is different. The higher the potential, the higher the status. For example, they are both Shura kings. One is the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor, and the other is only at the level of the Divine Emperor. Who has higher potential can be seen at a glance. Lord Shura King, the swordsman Sudang hasn't come down yet. Shouldn't we wait? When the bull-headed Shura King of the Middle Ages Void, who was thousands of feet tall, picked up many kings on the ground, Thunderfire Celestial Immortal hurriedly asked. Sudang and Kiji Huang will have someone to send them back, and they have won the Mountain and Sea Seal. As long as they can keep the Mountain and Sea Seal from being taken away by other kings within 10,000 years, they can have a fairy palace on Mount Buzhao. The bull-headed Ashura King's voice boomed. Among all the Ashura Kings, he was in the best mood. In the Middle Ages, 2 super kings of the Mountain and Sea Seal and 2 kings of the River Seal appeared in the void at the same time, a total of 4 kings. How could he not be happy? 1/5 of the quota was occupied by them. There is a fairy palace on Mount Buzhao? Many kings couldn't help but envy when they heard it. This Mount Buzhao has a rich spiritual energy and a long-lasting Taoist connotation, and it has bred countless ancient creatures and many great medicines of heaven and earth. It is really a first-class treasure land. The efficiency of practicing here for one day is probably comparable to practicing in the outside world for a year. Hold the Mountain and Sea Seal. Can the Mountain and Sea Seal be fought for? Of course, little guys, work hard. You have just entered the Dao Mansion, and the Dao Mansion will distribute cultivation resources to you regularly, including magical powers, treasures of heaven and earth, etc. Of course, the most important thing is your strength. If you are strong, everything is possible. What's the big deal about robbing them of the Mountain and Sea Seal? The bull-headed Shura King laughed, and he took a step, very fast, and shuttled through time and space. The kings in his palms listened silently. Some quietly clenched their fists. Everything has just begun, and they still have a long way to go in the future. The bull-headed Shura King looked down at the little guys in his palms, who were full of fighting spirit, sighed in his heart. I'm just cheering you up. Do you think the resources of the Dao Mansion are so easy to get? There are only so many resources. How can they be supplied to you casually? You don't have enough Huangquan Dao fruit, and you want to exchange for cultivation resources? At the same time, he also sighed. It was okay during the king period, but when I reached the Shura King level, every increase in strength required a large number of treasures to pile up. Those treasures were even more precious, and required the fruit of reincarnation. How long did it take me to accumulate 200 fruit of reincarnation? The bull-headed Shura King shook his huge bull head. There is no free lunch in the world. If you want to gain something, you need to pay first. This is the portrayal of the future of these kings. The strong will always be strong. The super kings who have won the mountain and sea seal and the river seal now. They practice in Buzhao Mountain and their strength increases faster. And if they win the mountain and sea seal, they can enter the 10 Palace Ashura Kings. Why are so many kings scrambling to enter the 10 Palace Ashura Kings? Because the 10 Palace Ashura Kings will teach their kings. And they have more resources. One step stronger, one step stronger. It's difficult for them to catch up. The mountain and sea seal can be fought for. I'll go back and find out how to fight for it. I don't want to think about Sudan, Liu Tong and the others. But the goddess Yuling, I don't believe I'm not her opponent. Many kings thought to themselves. Pick on the weak. Who cares about the goddesses and goddesses? Cultivation resources are more important. In the heavenly palace at the top of Buzhao Mountain, Sudong and 20 others appeared on the cloud layer of the beautiful heavenly palace. Some were surprised, while others looked calm. It seemed that they had been prepared. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. They knew each other. Qi Jihuang saw Sudong holding the mountain and sea seal, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Congratulations. Qi Jihuang sent a voice transmission. Congratulations. Sudong also responded. This time you and I didn't meet and fight. We must have a good exchange in the future. Qi Jihuang was full of confidence. He was not afraid of Sudong's soul secret method at all. Definitely. Sudong also wanted to see whether his own swordsmanship of the King of 10,000 Swords was powerful, or Qi Jihuang's swordsmanship was more accomplished. Swish. A silver light flashed. A figure flew in front of Sudong. Silver sword. Sudong looked at the tall young man in front of him. Swordsman, thank you very much. Silver Knife Realm God Yangning bowed his hands. I can become a super king. I have lived up to my master's expectations. Sudong could clearly feel the joy from the bottom of his heart of the Silver Knife Realm God in front of him. And he was also thinking that Huan Kundeofu was in charge of the birth and destruction of countless voids. His eyes flickered slightly. Suddenly, according to the order of Shura King of Changjiang Palace, King Lin Yu is invited to meet him. A team appeared in the distance, appearing from the distant palace group, and appeared directly in front in a flash. The team was gorgeous, and in front was a divine emperor, immortal emperor level attendant, smiling at Lin Yu among the 20 people. The other 19 people, including Sudong, couldn't help but look at Lin Yu. Chapter 449, The Book of Life and Death. Lin Yu was outstanding among all the kings. The aura of Taoism contained in his body was particularly compelling. He was the blood of the great light god Qilin, and his bloodline was strong and unique. Although he had a great background, he was quite humble. He was able to win the mountain and sea seal this time, so his strength was naturally very strong. Lin Yu did not hesitate, and followed the team. The remaining 19 kings waited in place. The Shura King of Changjiang Palace. That is one of the 10 Palace Ashura Kings. The 10 Palace Ashura Kings have been stable since ancient times, and are extremely powerful. They even sent people to summon Lin Yu. The ghost Taoist Han Feng had a cold aura. He stood there, looked at him coldly, and suddenly spoke. To be favored by the 10 Palace Ashura Kings, this Lin Yu has a bright future. None of the 19 kings present were familiar with him, but he said it directly. Although the expressions of the others also changed slightly, they just looked at him and didn't say much. Sudong felt that compared to Lin Yu, the great light god Qilin, this ghost Taoist Han Feng made him feel more uncomfortable. The palace was shrouded in mist. The 19 kings did not wait for long. A god general wearing golden armor flew directly from the palace. He was wrapped in golden light and his aura was unfathomable. Behind him were 16 silver armored gods, who flew over together. I'm the god general Shura of the heavenly palace. Kings, follow me. The golden armored god general spoke, and his voice resounded peacefully in everyone's heart. After the words fell, the 16 silver armored gods stood on the left and right, in a protective and welcoming manner, and Sudong and the other 19 kings flew over. The one I'm going to take you to see now is the lord of the mountain and sea realm, Master Wang. Master Wang guards the era void of the mountain and sea realm. He is one of the strongest masters of my Huan Deofu. You must not offend him later. The golden armored god general reminded. Yes. The 19 kings all nodded in response. The strength of this golden armored general Shuriking is so high that it is probably close to the level of the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor. It is unknown how many times he has been crowned Shuriking. In short, they feel the pressure doubled. Sudong and his companions are better. Just like Zazu, Silver Knife Realm God and Fairy Lan, Clear Sky Goddess and Uqiu Goddess who also obtained the River Seal, their souls and wills are slightly weaker. They retreat slightly and distance themselves from the Golden Armored General. Among the 9 kings who obtained the Mountain and Sea Seal this time, only one Goddess Yuling is a female king. And among the 11 kings who obtained the River Seal, there are 4 female kings. All of them have outstanding looks. There is a road with rosy clouds in the center of the Heavenly Palace group. They followed the Golden Armored General from above the road and flew on the clouds and mist and soon passed through many luxurious and beautiful palaces. The names of the plaques of many palaces are different, such as Zengxi Palace, Iquixing Palace, Jiu Palace. So many powerful Shurikings. Sudong saw the palaces on both sides at a glance. There were faint figures of Shurikings. Some Shurikings noticed them and opened their eyes to look over. At first glance, it was as bright as the stars and the void was vast. Each one was extremely powerful. This mountain and sea world void is indeed an important place for Huan Deofu. So many Shurikings gathered here. Sudong sighed in his heart. Through his perspective, Fenglao Rangzi and the 5-colored stone clone could still see the scene here. Fenglao Rangzi was more excited than Sudong. Huan Deofu was one of the top 3 forces in the void throughout many eras. She was of course very curious about what such a force looked like. Forces like Fenglao Ancient Country and Jiaji Ancient Country were not even ants in front of Huan Deofu. A 7-crowned Shuriking was enough to crush the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor who opened up an ancient country, not to mention the more powerful Dominant King. The Dominant King dominated the void of an era. Is this Huan Deofu? Fenglao Rangzi looked through Sudong's perspective. Strictly speaking, the void of the mountain and sea realm is the core area of Huan Deofu. Of course, the real dojo of Huan Deofu is a void called Liu Deofu. The entire void is the base camp of Huan Deofu, with countless powerful people. They flew all the way into the most magnificent and tall palace. The palace is called the Lord Palace, and they flew all the way in. The palace is extremely vast, with many clergymen wearing ordinary court robes sitting on both sides. There are thousands of them, and each of them is a Shuriking at the level of the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor. So many powerful Shurikings gathered together. Even if the realm fluctuations of the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor were restrained, Sudong and other kings still felt inexplicable pressure. That's Lin Yu. Is Lin Yu here? The 19 kings saw Lin Yu standing next to a powerful Shuriking who also had 2 horns on his head and was smiling and drinking fine wine. The Shuriking was obviously very happy at the moment, and his attitude when talking to Lin Yu was very casual. Lin Yu and the Shuriking have a special relationship. Everyone felt that the Shuriking doted on Lin Yu. This was a relationship that came from blood. A strong bloodline and a strong clan would have influence in a big force like Huan Deofu. The strong will always be strong. One step higher, one step higher. Lin Yu also looked at them and smiled at Sudong. Since the 4-sided peak, Lin Yu could feel a sense of intimacy from Sudong. Sudong could only nod his head. Little guy, perform well. A ray of voice transmission reached Sudong's ears. Sudong's heart moved, and he saw the elegant Fujun sitting on the left among the many Shurikings above. Seeing Sudong walking in front of him, Fujun's face was full of admiration. He was the king of 10,000 swords of the 6th level of Xian Wei Xian sword technique, but even he was shocked. My lord, the king is here. The golden armored general brought them to the front. Sitting at the top was a Taoist priest dressed as a middle-aged Taoist, and a handsome young man with a pale face wearing a crown. This book has been recently updated on update. Terrible pressure emanated from their divine bodies. It made Qi Huang and Liu Tong feel difficult to breathe. Greetings to the Lord King. Sudong and the other 19 people bowed and saluted. The kings looked down at the 19 kings. The Lord King of Pan's Hang Mountain had a cold face. He just glanced at Sudong and didn't say much. But Master Wang had a gentle look. Yes, each of you is a rare good seedling of my Huanquan Daofu. Today I grant you the Dao Talisman and the token. With the token, you can enter and exit many forbidden areas of the Daofu. Master Wang said. Taoist practice emphasizes nature. This Master Wang has great attainments in the way of life, so he is very easygoing. With a wave of his hand, 19 streams of light fell into the hands of Sudong and others. The stream of light turned into a token, with the 4 words Huanquan Daofu in the center and a strange mountain and sea pattern behind it. Thank you, Lord King. Everyone saluted. Sudong held the command talisman, and his divine power easily entered the command talisman. Suddenly, a lot of information flooded into his mind. He had mastered all the rules and regions in the Dao mansion. He could also faintly feel that the entire void of the mountain and sea realm was shrouded in an extremely terrifying and huge power, which could easily kill him into ashes. Obviously, without the command talisman, it was impossible to enter the void of the mountain and sea realm. This was also the means by which the Huanquan Dao mansion protected the void of the mountain and sea realm. I'm now the real king of the Huanquan Dao mansion. Sudong thought of coming all the way from the Huanquan road. Although he was a king, after passing the Huanquan road, the status was obviously different from the command talisman directly granted by Master Wang. Except for the 20 kings, other kings were not qualified to stay at Shanhei Peak at will. The 9 kings who won the Shanhei seal came forward. Master Wang continued. Sudong, Qi Jiuang, Li Yutong, Qian Vuling and the other 9 people stepped forward. Li Yutong, who had always been crazy, was obedient at this moment. You have won the mountain and sea seal, and you have great potential. I will grant each of you 200,000 Huanquan Dao fruits, and a magical book of life and death. This time, a maid who had been prepared came forward. Each maid held a golden plate in her hand. One of the plates was a storage bag. The other was a magical book of life and death that emitted a faint golden light. Is this the book of life and death? Sudong looked at the magical book in front of him. The second update will be later. Chapter 450. The 10 Palace Ashura Kings issue a decree. The Book of Life and Death is so famous that everyone from the ordinary to the gods and spirits has heard of its reputation. As long as they are not the Holy Spirit or the life outside the 6 paths, they are all named in the Book of Life and Death. How to use the Book of Life and Death? You will know it once you recognize the master. This is just a magic weapon. No matter how unique the magic weapon is, it is still an external object. The most important thing for you is to improve your understanding of the Tao. Remember it. Master Wang smiled gently, and Sudong and others did not feel any oppression when they heard it. Yes. The 9 kings put away their storage bags and the Book of Life and Death. Bowed again. The remaining 11 kings who won the River Seal will each be awarded 120,000 Huanquan Dao fruits. Master Wang spoke again. Silver Knife Realm God, Zhao Zhu and the other 11 people were awarded this Huanquan Dao fruit. I got 130,000 in Huanquan Road. Now Master Wang only rewards me with 120,000? The Silver Knife Realm God put away his storage bag, bowed and saluted, while muttering in his heart. It seems that this Huanquan Dao fruit is extremely valuable, but the Huanquan Dao fruit he got when he first entered Huanquan Road was lost to Sudong, and there was not a single one left. This Huanquan Dao fruit is extraordinary. Sudong also felt that even the Master King like Wang Zhenren valued the reward. How could it be an ordinary thing? However, looking at Du Gusheng, Qi Jiuang and other kings with great backgrounds, they all seemed to have just realized that Huanquan Dao fruit is very precious. Obviously, the kings who participated in Huanquan Road were concealed from the information and did not know the true purpose of Huanquan Dao fruit. I didn't deliberately collect Huanquan Dao fruit on Huanquan Road. I killed many gods and got 100,000 Dao fruits. Later, Silver Knife God lost 130,000 Dao fruits to me, and now he has rewarded me with 200,000 Dao fruits. A total of 430,000 Dao fruits. Sudong thought to himself. At this time, Master Wang above spoke again. Enter my Taoist palace, and I will teach you the Taoist teachings. Master, teaching the Taoist teachings will be granted to them naturally when they become the followers of the 10 Palace Ashura Kings. You don't need to grant it to them personally. A black divine bat was flying beside Master Wang. The divine bird stopped on Master Wang's shoulder and spoke human words. It's the divine bird from Siphon Peak. It actually stood on Master Wang's shoulder. Sudong and the other 19 kings, including Lin Yu who was next to the Shura King, looked over in surprise. This divine bird actually had such an extraordinary origin. Haha, that's right. Then it's time to pass on the decree of the 10 palaces Shura Kings to them. Master Wang laughed immediately. Pass on the decree. Suddenly, the powerful Shura Kings on the seats on both sides stood up, and the only lord of the palace that Sudong knew was among them. A total of 10 powerful Shura Kings flew to the center of the magnificent palace, each holding a decree in their hands. The decrees were opened from their hands. Some of them showed black light, some showed golden light, and some showed blood light. Various colors of light illuminated the entire palace, colorful and gorgeous. All 20 of you are qualified to join the 10 palaces Shura Kings, but the 10 palaces Shura Kings still want to test you to see if you are suitable for your own Taoism. The 10 palaces Shura Kings of my Taoist mansion have been constant since ancient times. They have always been Shura Kings who have reached the extreme in a certain aspect. It is a great opportunity for you to join them. You must cherish it. Master Wang said. The Lord King of Pan's Hang Mountain next to him always had a cold face, pale face, and handsome and cold face, like a stone sculpture. At this moment, he also nodded slightly. Being able to become the 10 palaces Shura King proves that the achievements in certain aspects have reached an incredible level, and some even he admires. Sudong and the other 20 people hurriedly looked at the 10 decrees. The Void Era is endless, and there are many mysterious and powerful people among them. The 10 palaces Shura Kings can be said to have reached the extreme in some aspects. They are the top powerhouses in countless Void Eras. In Huangquan Daofu, the status of the 10 palaces Shura Kings is even higher than that of the dominant kings. The dominant king is ranked high and powerful, and his strength is composed of many aspects, such as powerful magic weapons, powerful realms, and terrifying divine bodies. These many aspects are very strong, and there are almost no shortcomings. If you can rank as the dominant king, you will be a legend that crushes the entire Void Era. The 10 palaces Shura Kings are ranked lower than the dominant kings, but their attainments in some aspects even exceed those of the dominant kings. Some of them are the fastest in ancient and modern times, and some of them have unprecedented magic. In short, all kinds of rumors prove the terrifying nature of the 10 palaces Shura Kings. As long as you can comprehend the divine magic of the heavenly god level from one of these 10 decrees within 12 days, it will prove that you are qualified to serve under the Shura King. Let's get started. Master Wang waved his hand. Suddenly, a sundial appeared in the palace. There was a golden thread on the sundial, and the golden thread was moving to prove the passage of time. Is there such a test? Han Feng was the first to walk closer to watch the 10 decrees. 12 days. I have to hurry. Is this a test of our understanding and accumulation? Gun Demon Du Gusheng also walked over. The other kings, Qi Jiuang, Liu Tong and others continued to watch from afar. The effect of observing the decrees from a distance is the same. On the Shura King's seat, the Shura King of Changjiang Palace looked at Lin Yu next to him. I'm good at the way of light, and my magic and Taoist methods are all bright and masculine. Teaching an unsuitable king will only delay him. Lin Yu, you and I are from the same lineage, and our bodies are both great light divine unicorns. You are the most suitable to follow my path. There is no need to test you. The Shura King of Changjiang Palace laughed, and only he and Lin Yu beside him could hear his voice. Today, all the Shura Kings of the 10 palaces are here, but they did not introduce themselves to each other. At this moment, they were all looking at the 19 kings below. Is that Qi Jiuang the seed cultivated by the Dao mansion? Good at swordsmanship. Among the 10 Shura Kings, only I and the Shura King of Sangdi Palace are good at swordsmanship. The 5 Dragon King has a curved and ferocious dragon horn on his head, which is as sharp as a sword, and there is a sword mark on his forehead. This book has been updated recently in #@. Update. This Liu Tong is good. I like him. There is a Shura King who is optimistic about Liu Tong. It is said to be a test. In the end, they will choose the one they like. After all, they are the ones who accept and cultivate him, so naturally they have the power to choose. The Shura King of Bianji Palace looked at Jiang Jiu with a smile. Sudong stood in the palace, looking at the 10 great decrees in front of him. The 10 great decrees reflected the palace, emitting vast energy fluctuations, and the decrees reflected all kinds of strange Dao patterns. He went through all these decrees first. The first decree was the decree of the Shuriking of Sandi Palace. The decree reflected a divine sword Dao pattern. The divine sword was deeply embedded in the decree, containing terrible Dao power. Sudan felt his eyes stinging after taking a look and dared not look again. The second decree was pitch black, reflecting a long stick. It was the decree of the Shuriking of King Gaon Palace. The third decree was blood red, reflecting a red flower. It was the decree of the Shuriking of Dushan Palace. The sixth decree reflected a slender scimitar, which exuded a sky-high evil spirit. At a glance, Sudan immediately felt that the scimitar flew out of the decree and instantly cut the whole world apart. This is the decree of the Shuriking of Yama Palace. Sudan was immediately attracted by this decree. The decree was given to let us choose the 10 Shurikings Daoism that suits our own cultivation path. All the kings present are kings who have mastered the power of the Divine Emperor and the Immortal Emperor. Although they have mastered it, creating a wonderful Dao method is different from learning and mastering it. 12 days is still a bit short, but it is not impossible. Time is short, so naturally choose to create what you are best at. I'm good at swordsmanship, so I will create a swordsmanship based on this decree. Sudan took a rough look at the subsequent decrees, and none of them shocked him like this decree. Immediately, Sudan studied the swordsmanship based on this decree. At the same time, above the Zumi Buddha kingdom in his soul, Sudan's soul incarnation reflected his many ideas through a page of Buddhist scriptures to see if the ideas were feasible. One look, one thought, and one peek. Sudan's efficiency in creating wonderful swordsmanship was greatly improved. In the main hall, many powerful and high-ranking Taoists were watching the 19 little guys studying and comprehending the Dao, and working hard to create below. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.